What is up, Fence fam? Welcome back for another week. Good to see you guys virtually again, I guess you would say. Do we say see each other? I don't know. You see me, but I wish technology existed that we could see each other. Anyway, you guys got a huge guest. You've read the description. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Host or co-host of the My Fence Life show. Depending on where you're watching us here, it's either where you're watching us, Facebook, YouTube, their podcast now. Massive deal. I'm glad he can make time to come on with us. Without further ado, let's welcome on. What's up, Cannon? How are you?
What is up, Joe?
Not much. Not much. How are you?
Not a much. Man, listen, my anxiety is through the roof. I'm excited to be here. I could see myself like backstage and it said, be ready. The host could pull you up anytime. So I'm just sitting here like, anytime. Hey, Joe, thanks. Thanks for having me, man. I'm freaking pumped.
No, I appreciate you making time to come on. You're in the middle of some family time. Now, when we first started talking about this, you're like, hey, yeah, actually ended up in Florida. But then when I'm talking to you today, you're not in Florida anymore. You're just bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah. So, so the whole plan, so we thought, okay, was we would leave Panama City this morning. Like, I was like kind of planning I'd be on the patio. Like this time yesterday, I was sitting on the patio that I had planned to be on, right? Yeah. And about 11 o'clock, we get a little knock on the door. And Kristen goes and answers the door. And the lady's like, oh, you not leave yet? And she's like, no, we leave tomorrow. And the lady's like, no, your reservation ends today, And so like we had like 30 minutes to get out. So yeah, we looked it up online. Like sure enough, we short booked a night. And
oh no.
So, anyways, we had bought tickets to go on this pirate ship, all this kind of stuff. So we couldn't just like leave, like we'd have to leave our room, So we went to the pirate ship. We had not seen Josh Glover, so we called him and Lauren, and we went and seen them and the kids and hung out with them. And somehow we left Panama City at 9 o'clock last night and drove all the way to Birmingham, Alabama. So right now, Joe, we are within striking distance of a Buc-ee's gas station.
This is what we talked about a little bit ahead of time. So, and then when we dug a little deeper, I think subconsciously you did this on purpose to get closer to the Buc-ee's.
Oh, not subconsciously. This was premeditated, to the first degree. Like, hey, we've got to get within striking distance of Buc-ee's. In fact, we went to Buc-ee's the first time. When was it, Chris? In January? And we were in Tampa, Florida, and we routed our whole way back home to Tennessee to catch as many Buc-ee's as possible.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I keep hearing about them. So we've got one going in that's like 30, 45 minutes away. And like everyone is losing their minds about these stores. And I just don't know what to think. I mean, we'll see.
Man, listen, it is. You're not gonna run out of. You got plenty of places to pull in. I mean, there's like 400 different pump handles, like literally, like for days. And I hope I'm not just going at it too hard here, but I'm excited about Buc-ee's. I'm sorry. And it's our first time, Joe. We were driving Kristen's Kia. It's a Kia K5. Okay. It costs in January it cost like $32 to fill it up. Okay,
sure.
We spent $390 at a gas station. Yeah, my kids, they've got Buc-ee's pajamas, they've got Buc-ee's blankets, pillows, the little things you wear around your neck.
Yep.
And they got the best brisket sandwich. Oh my goodness, the best brisket sandwich. So you don't know what's coming for you, Joe, but you're in a good position to have.
What I'm hearing is I need to start saving now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll start a Buc-ee's account. We'll just put some money away.
And whatever neighborhood it's in, I would suggest running like some Google ads in that area because you want to position yourself to be,
in there at all times.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Which we won't actually be building fence anymore. We'll just be out front of Buc-ee's.
Yes.
Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should see if we could rent like a parking space and just park one of our trailers there.
Oh man.
Oh. All right, guys, let's say hello to a few people because, man, Roger's been here for like half an hour now. What is up, Roger?
What's up, Roger?
Good to see you. Project Metal Music. Now, these guys are watching from the UK. Always good to see you guys. Joe Rivers from Straight Arrow Fence in Florida. Another Florida guy. Now, this is one of my guys, OG Latiker. So this is so Matt runs like our fabrication shop / building and grounds. What is up, Matt? Glad you got to join us. Fence King says 2 of the fencing industry leaders in the same spot at one time. This is going to be great. Fence King.
Wow.
I'm excited. Josh says, aloha, Joe. Is Cannon Johnson on today?
Hey,
in the
he
flesh.
is.
In
he
the flesh.
Is.
Listen, we get all the celebrities here on the show. We get all the big names. Zachary says, hey, from Orlando, Florida. This is great. 2 of my favorite guys. Florida is representing today. Dylan's here. Fence Prince. What's up, fellas? Here we go with the Buckies again.
Yeah.
We know who that is. Fencing Unlimited. What is up? Stephen Eastup. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Josh, hello. Or aloha, you know. Roger says,
Aloha.
hey, everyone, man, Roger's always on top of this. Don't forget to hit the like button. No matter where you're watching, there will be some sort of like or applause button. Go ahead and hit that. It means a lot.
Man.
He's
exactly the kind of guy you want in your comments. And he's here every week.
Oh, every week, absolutely. And so last week week before last, he was in asking a bunch of questions. So he's not in the fencing industry. He's in another professional trade, but he asks really good questions. So we always appreciate having Roger here.
Heck yeah.
And he's one of these guys, like he's been here since the beginning. So when you don't see him for a few weeks, you're like, hey, has anyone seen Roger? Can someone check on Roger? If anyone's near Roger right now, could you go make sure that guy's all right?
I love it, man. I love it. Greetings
from the home state of Bucky's. That's right. They're out of Texas.
Yeah. Everything's bigger in Texas.
He's spoiled. He's got them right there in his backyard. Miguel, hello. Lorraine, Ohio. Dan Wheeler. I don't want to say Dan Johnson. Dan Wheeler. Good morning. Also, fellow podcaster. I say fellow because you guys are. He keeps trying to talk me into podcasting, and I think we're getting there.
What do you call this, Joe?
I think that's a really good question. I just call it a live stream. I mean, I think that it's like a live show, maybe. But then when I'm talking to people about what I do here on YouTube, they're like, "Oh yeah, podcast."
I think the real name is like a vlog or a vlog.
Yeah, vlog. Yeah. So I think. Well, and this is the thing, like there's not really a definition, right? So we were at Social Media Marketing World 2-3 weeks ago, and that was kind of one of the topics of conversation is like having some sort of standardized names for things. And the YouTube live streams came up and like YouTube shows in general, because they're a vlog really kind of feels like it's more of one of those day in the life, like you bring a camera with you throughout the whole day, and that sort of like you're documenting your day.
Yes,
me.
Right.
But to other people, you're right. To other people, like this is the vlog. It's a YouTube platform term for just having video content.
Yeah, I've always wondered like what the proper name is, and it's hard to Google stuff about it. It's like if you type in live stream, I always get results about like if I want to watch videos or play video games, you know.
Like Twitch, that sort of thing. Like, and that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. Because so live streaming, that's where that term came from. Was guys that would live stream their gameplay through Twitch and other platforms.
Right.
So it's like there's not like a really good term for exactly what we're doing right now. But I don't know.
Hey, look here, man. Sorry.
No.
I just got a compliment on my sound. Listen, this is my son's Xbox deal. This might just become my go-to.
I tell you what, it sounds great. On my end, it really does sound good. So, all right. So, Ken, let's talk for a little bit about just how did you get into fencing? This is something that I find like incredibly interesting because everyone's fence story is always a little bit different, but they're also always a little bit the same. How'd you get into fence?
Man, I faked it. All right. So, contrary to, I guess, you and a lot of guys, like I did not grow up in a fence family at all. And I didn't grow up in a construction family. I didn't grow up in a business owning family, you know. So I'll tell you what happened for me when I was let's back up. I've been a hustler. That's the way I like to say it. I've been hustling since I was like 6 years old. You know,
Okay.
I learned how to sell when I was like 6 with lemonade. You know, a lot of kids
Okay.
had lemonade
Yep.
stands.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of to me, it's kind of a lost, dying art, I guess. You
It
know,
really is.
but yeah. So at 6 years old, we started doing lemonade stands, and there was a Goodyear tire company, a plant, about a mile behind our house. And at the age of 6, I began to see a pattern as to when I need to set up and not set up, because there was only certain times of the day when there was significant traffic. 1 p.m. was one of those times. That's a shift change.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, at 6 years old, man, like I was watching how these cars would pass behind my house, and like, all right, 12 o'clock, we're getting everything ready. 12:30, got a kid on this corner, got a kid on that corner, doing it. And then one day, I remember my dad had this crazy idea. Um, he had a bunch of deer heads in the garage, and I don't know why this doesn't make any sense, but he brought out like 4 lawn chairs and sat beside the lemonade stand. It was, typical. We'd have, you know, if 10 trucks would stop in an hour, that's a great day, doing lemonade.
Yeah.
And so he put these deer heads out by a lemonade. He put these lawn chairs out, and inside the lawn chairs, he set these deer heads, deer
Okay.
he had killed. And man, it was that day when something happened. That whole street filled up with trucks. I will never forget. Like there was a line of trucks stopped, because a few of them pulled up and they seen the deer heads and they pulled over. They may have thought we were selling them, getting rid of them. I don't know what they thought, but
Right.
it created like a hype moment, I guess. And once 4 stopped, then the next guy, he couldn't even see the deer heads. He just pulls in, and the next, like, it just created a chain of reaction. And
Wow.
yes, that was just as a kid, I remember seeing this, and uh, I always like to think like that's the first time I realized like, oh, that's how you convince people to buy stuff.
Uh-huh.
And
It
so
was marketing and advertising.
exactly, and I always say, Joe, that I'm more of a sales guy or a marketing guy than a fence guy.
Sure. Sure.
Like
Sure.
that's really what
Yeah.
we're doing. Fence just happens to be the service and the product that we deliver.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, growing up, that was me. I sold everything: CDs, car washes, gutter cleanings. When the little league team would give me a candy bar, like a box of candy bars, hey, sell these for $1. I was the kid that would be like, well, they're actually $2 because there's a $1 Pizza Hut coupon that's worth $1, and then you get the candy bar that's worth another $1. And I would sell it for
Nice.
$2, and I remember doing that and coming home and telling mom how I discovered, Mom, I've learned how to get twice the money out of these candy bars. And she was not happy. She was not excited about that.
Really?
I'm still excited about it. 30
Yeah.
years later, I'm like, that's a great move, Cannon.
Uh-huh.
And but I remember doing that, and in her eyes, I took advantage of my neighbors. In my eyes, I was like, no, I told them what they would get. They got a coupon, they got a candy bar, it's $2, and we agreed to a deal, you
Yeah.
know. But she humbly made me go back to all my neighbors and knock on their door at like the age of 10 and give everybody $1 back.
Really?
Yeah, and looking back, I'm like, no, I should have just gave them another candy bar. That would have been a better way to settle that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
anyways, so that's kind of like my foundation as a kid. Like I always wanted to sell stuff, and so at the age of 18, I get a job at Lowe's. I'm working in high school, and I become the guy that loads the mulch. We all know
Yeah.
that guy. You pull
Yep.
up to the side, which now they're using skid steers. I don't know if you've seen that in your local market.
No.
Yeah,
Are they?
so yeah, our local market, they're getting dump truck loads of mulch and gravel even, and they've got
Huh.
a skid steer at Lowe's, which is
Yeah.
kind of scary because I've seen them guys also drive forklifts.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So, anyways, that's what's happening at our Lowe's, and anyways, that's where I got started, kind of in construction.
Sure.
Just loading up mulch. Well, I ended up staying with Lowe's until the age of 28. That was 10 years, and at the end of my career with Lowe's, the last 4 or 5 years, Lowe's began to offer exterior installations, and fencing was one of those. Okay. And along with fencing, we started doing roofs and siding and gutters and HVAC systems all at the same time. Lowe's had always done for a long time, like flooring and
Yeah.
cabinetry. And then it was like 2011, I guess, when Lowe's decided, hey, we want to roll out an exteriors program as well. Well, at that point, I was an assistant store manager, and so when they rolled this out, that kind of fell underneath some of my responsibilities, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so for 5 years, I had a salesperson that I would I don't manage. I hate saying stuff like that, you know, but
Sure.
salesperson that worked for me, I guess. And then the installed sales office, I also had to work with those people, you know. And ultimately, what happened was I was becoming a liaison between the store and the customers and the installers. And so for like 5 years, I kind of believe every business is a little bit of a mess, you know.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and when it's yours, you kind of, I don't know, you kind of protect it more. You're more appreciative of it, I guess. But
Yeah.
when it's, you know, working for a corporation, you're like, man, this is a mess, you know. And nothing against Lowe's, you know, but
Sure.
I was learning. But what was happening is I would get caught in the crossfire between the customer and the salesperson and the installers, you know. And after 4 or 5 years, I was like, man, I think, well, after 4 or 5 years, what happened was I would go around with my little tool bag. Uh, a gate wouldn't work, or some boards would be coming off, or whatever. You know, the problem was it would be so difficult sometimes to get these installers to go back.
Yeah.
And even when they did go back, you didn't know if they were really going to fix the problem or just kind of put a band-aid on it.
Sure.
And again, this has nothing to do with Lowe's. This is just my
Right.
experience, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it got easier for me just to have like a bag of tools in my truck, you know. And if something like that would happen, I would just go out there like, hey, you know what, Miss Jones, let me just come check it out, you know. And I would never say, hey, let me come fix it. Let me come check it out, see what's going on. And if it was something I felt like I could fix, I would just do it, you know, be a hero at that point. But anyways, that started happening more and more and more. And I was like, you know what? I believe I could just do this, you know? Like the salespeople, they make some mistakes sometimes. And I'm just like, well, why? You know, the production office who coordinates it all, they kind of put us in some sticky situations sometimes. And then the installers, you just don't know if they're going to show up or not show up or do a good job or not do it. You just don't know, you know?
Yep.
And so, for a long time, I wanted to just have like an exteriors company, because that's what I managed. I managed exterior installs. But I didn't grow up in a construction background. I had never really built anything. And, you know, for me, even today, if I look at a door or a window, it's hard for me to understand, you know, talking about brick modes and wrapping and jam. It's hard for me to really understand what all's going on in that 6-inch wall, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Roof. It's hard for me to really understand that, and the valleys and the peaks. And plus, I don't like being off the ground, you know.
Yeah.
So when I looked at all this stuff, I was like, man, fences kind of, I can really see the whole structure. I kind of understand it, you know. And so we started Jackson Fence Company.
Nice. And how long ago was that, Ken?
That was in 2000. The idea for it was in 2015, late 2015. Okay. And really kind of got serious about it in 2016. And serious about it meaning I quit my job and, you know, went for it, kind of thing. So
yeah. So at it 7 years thereabouts.
Yeah, close to it. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
16. It's hard. Time flies. So September of this year will be 6 years. Is what it is.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So is it what you thought? Now, I guess I was going to say, is it what you thought it would be? But I mean, you were really kind of essentially running, it sounds like kind of running the fence division of Lowe's. Mm-hmm. I mean, for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. So you really kind of got some on the job training, you know, something like that. But when you got into business for yourself, I'm sure, what you thought it was going to be?
Yes and no. I'm the worst about making things way more difficult than they need to be.
Yeah, you know, I think we can relate to that.
And sometimes, like, I just really overcomplicate processes because I'm like, oh, if it ain't perfect, I'm not doing it, and I will work on something so long and then not get it done, or something else needs to be addressed because I want it to just be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what made it complicated. But I had a strong foundation, Joe, just from seeing this at Lowe's. Like,
Yeah.
and we had processes and procedures, and like I kind of like had a background of like checks and balances. Like I understood coming into this, like why this person doesn't issue it and sign off on it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was seeing this firsthand. And honestly, my mission was to completely copy Lowe's and never build fence and just run subcontractors.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure.
because one day it just hit me. I was like, hold on, we're not doing anything but selling. And it all came back to me like, hold on, I've been selling stuff since I was 6. Remember?
Hmm.
Well, I can sell this stuff. And I've been with Lowe's for 10 years. Like, you better believe I know who the good contractors are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I service them every day. And I also know the ones I wouldn't have work on my house.
That's right.
And so I was like, hey, let's just let's do this. And in fact, we did subcontract a lot of the early fences.
Mhm.
And then it was just like, hey, why don't I just go do this?
Yeah, we use a little of both. I mean, we'll use our own crews. We also have a few subcontract crews we use, and they're each their own tool,
Mhm.
right? Like they each have strengths and weaknesses. You wouldn't use a hammer to drive in a screw, right? So you'd use a screwdriver. So different tools for different tasks. But um, and it's funny because and I really feel like that's a regional thing too, to a certain extent, because I'll talk to guys from different parts of the country and all they use is subcontractors.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
all they do. And then you talk to other guys, they're like, "Oh, I could never. All of my people are in house." Like, well, okay, but it's kind of, I don't know. For us, it's a mixture of both, I guess. But
It's a thing for me. I like the idea of subcontractors. I do. But I also am like super afraid of it. And that's because it's foreign to me and I've not done it.
well, for us, if they're a true subcontractor, an
Mhm.
independent contractor, then
Mhm.
part of that stipulation is they tell you when they're going to go do the work,
Mhm.
and they can change it on a whim. So for us, we're booking out 6, 7 weeks in advance. We're telling the customer we're going to be there on or about the week of X. Well, you can't really do that when you're relying on subcontractors, because if it's a true independent contractor, they tell you. They say, "Hey, oh, I actually decided I'm actually going out of town that week, so it's going to be the next week."
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Can't tell the customer that. So, like, how are we going to figure this out? Are we going to give it to somebody else that can do it, or anyway? It's a lot cleaner when they're in house. But like I said, we've got some subcontract crews that are phenomenal. For our guys are phenomenal at commercial. They love
Mhm.
commercial work.
Mhm. Mhm.
And commercial is a little bit easier to use subcontractors on, just because they don't need a firm date. They don't want to know what is the exact date and time you're going to be on my property.
Yep.
Residential does.
Right.
Residential wants to know exactly when you're going to be there. So,
And a lot
I
of
don't know.
times in a commercial setting, there's a lot less. You know how it is. They don't care. Just it's more utility, right? Like, give me my
Yep.
fence. Give me my
Yep.
fence.
A lot less hand holding,
Yep.
just because they want to know, are you going to do it
Hmm.
within their timeline? They've got a completion date they need.
A
And are
deadline.
you going
Yep.
to come in under budget, on
Hmm.
budget, or under budget? That's all they care is, and usually, so a lot of the projects we'll work on will just give us a complete date. Like, hey, I don't care how you do it, how you get this done. It needs to be done by June 1.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, we can figure that out. So I don't know. It's different.
I hope I didn't run everybody off. We were getting a lot of comments.
No, no, no. I think everyone is riveted. Everyone's paying attention.
Riveted.
So you're riveted. I'm telling. Hey, I'm watching the viewer count right now, and the viewer count's doing great. So everyone's
How many?
still
How
here.
many? How many's here? I can't see that.
So we've got 17 total,
Okay.
19 total, 10 over on YouTube and 9 on Facebook. So
Nice. Nice.
so back in '08 and '09, so back when the housing market really crashed, really took a
Hmm.
dive. I also worked at Lowe's. I took
Oh
on a
wow.
second job over in building materials. So I was like, I know this stuff. I could go work there. Like, it's crazy. And I did for a while. But the the training programs over there are a bit crazy. Like I was the most knowledgeable in building materials by far, just because I worked with them, right? Because in order to work in building materials at this particular store, and this was how it was back then, it's probably different now, but you took like a 30 or 45-minute training module on the computer, and then you answered like some multiple choice questions, and they're like, "You got it, dude. You're a building
now,
materials
now
guy."
you're a level 1 building materials CSA. Yeah,
Right, exactly. I was like, okay, all right.
yeah. How
Yeah.
long? How
So
long did that run for, Joe?
about a year and a half, 2
Wow.
years, and I was doing. So this was. Let me think about these dates. This is before. This is. I was married at the time, but before my daughter. So young, no kids, so I worked nights and weekends, which they loved because they couldn't. It was a new store. They're trying to build up night and weekend crews, so it paid decent, but it was very corporate. It was very, very corporate.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just not my scene sort of thing.
Well, I feel like once you know, uh, it's hard to switch. Like you're either a corporate type person or
Yeah.
you're the other type person, Uh, and
Well,
I feel
my
like,
problem was I was always asking why. Like, well, why do we do it that way? Like
mhm.
inventory was one of the things, and like I understood flat stacking. I get it. Let's make it look presentable.
We know the
But
same
it's
words.
like,
I like this flat stacking.
yeah. I understood it, but there's a lot of things I didn't quite understand why we were doing them. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like that's silly. Why? Anyway, my assistant manager did not enjoy me too much being there. I did what I was told to do, but I'd usually ask why a few times. And
Mhm.
anyway, so the first opportunity when the market came back up and we started getting busy here at the fence company, I was adios.
Out.
I was out. Yeah, it was. I one of the things. So so she and I didn't get along very well anyway. So one of the things that was on my job task is I had to do the dust mopping of the floor, the dust
Yeah,
sweeping or whatever.
yeah.
I hated that so much. I came in and she was like, "Yeah, I don't know." It rubbed me the wrong way. And we were getting a little bit busier. She's like, "Well, guess what you're doing today? You got all of building materials, and I'd like it swept and cleaned by the end of the night. So that's what you'll be doing today." I was like, no, actually, that's not what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to go grab my wife, and we're going to do dinner. And I'm not coming back. So
It's a. I'm glad to hear, first of all, that you worked at Lowe's and you wear orange. Like, listen, I grew up. I was with Lowe's for 10 years. Okay, and like
yeah,
I was a really, I can say this, I was a good employee. Like, I was like, may God have mercy on the Home Depot, because I will not. That was my attitude. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
that's just who
yeah.
I am. Like, it's not like I feel like, hey, if this is my position, this is what you need me to do. I'm gonna live it out. And that translates also into what I do now. Look, Joe, I got my orange thing down. This is from the Holiday Inn Resort in Panama City.
I love
I,
it.
I almost forgot to tell you, I almost took it off, but I was like, no, this is for Joe today.
I
So,
love it. I love that so much.
but look, I had a lot of the same nuances, and Lowe's and we didn't. Uh, Lowe's was great to me, I will say,
Yeah,
but there's so much, because I didn't grow up in a business household or a construction household or a fence building. I can't tell you the amount of things that I know right now that there's no chance I would have ever known,
yeah,
other than my time at Lowe's. And listen,
yeah.
there's people that worked at Lowe's for 10 years like I did, and they completely hid from their job responsibilities. We know who those type of people are.
Yeah.
But I embraced it, man. I work in electrical. I was like, all right, well, tell me all about wire. Just not tell me about it. I would go, and Lowe's would sell these like DIY books at the front of the store, like Black
Mhm.
and Decker how to household wiring or whatever. I would buy those. Like, you put me in this department, I'm gonna buy one of those books and I'm gonna go home and read it. Plumbing, I read that kind of stuff. Millwork, like, I really wanted to understand more than just what the item number is and what the bin location is. I want to understand
Right.
what's going on here, so we can have a kind of a mid-level, high-level conversation about it.
Sure.
But because I did work there, like I mean, I didn't know what a planer was, now I know what a
Sure.
planer, just like little stuff that you don't think about, and now that I'm in construction, I can pop into a Lowe's store and I more or less one, I already know before I get there if they're gonna have it or not. And
Mm-hmm.
two, I know where it's gonna be. And three, if they don't know, like say it's in top stock or out in the bullpen, you know what a bullpen is, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Like I'm already knowing, like, all right, they're gonna tell me they don't have it, but I know better. I'm gonna check the bullpen. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So for me, we use a cold galvanizing spray in the fabrication shop.
yeah.
Well, they only keep like 3 or 4 cans down on the shelf. So then I'm looking at the top, like I'm looking at the item number, looking at the top. I'm like, all right, I see you got these 4. I actually need 2 cases and they're right there. I just need you to go get the ladder and bring them down for me real quick because I know I'm going to get yelled at if I go get that ladder and get it myself. So can we do that? And they're like, who are you? Yes, we can do that. I just know what I need and I need to get out of here.
Our store here, man, we're in a Lowe's, like a region. Like there's one Home Depot to 12 Lowe's stores, right?
Nice.
And but they're I know why they do this. It's like it's their training and their mindset, and it's but I said this the other day on one of our shows, is like they want to take all the black Rust-Oleum and open it up. They want to
Yeah.
take all the code out and they want to open it up. I'm like, no, man, leave some cases for guys like myself, because if we
Yep.
don't, like, one just ain't doing nothing for me. One to get me
Right.
through today, maybe, but
Well, and I don't want them just rattling all around the truck or the truck bed or whatever.
yeah.
If I have them in the case, I can put them in the back seat. And I know they're going to be there when I get to the shop.
You know how many Lowe's buckets I've bought because they take the stuff out of the box?
Yeah.
And that's the only, you're like, man, how am I going to get all this to the front register? You can see this stack of blue buckets,
They're sitting right there. They're everywhere.
and you get there and, like, you set it on the thing, they scan it all, and like, do you want the bucket? And it's like, yeah, I'll take the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's me anyways. I don't know.
So, but you're right. So I think here's the reason that I didn't enjoy Lowe's is I enjoy, like, if you just give me the outcome you want, I can figure it out. Like, just let me figure it out. And Lowe's has a very particular way of doing it. Like they
It's a
outline
process.
exactly every step you need to take to get this thing done.
Mhm.
And I think that was my problem. I was like, well, why 3 of these steps can be combined into one, and I could just knock that, but when you think about, they really have to plan on just whoever showing up, right? Which is
Exactly.
probably a good business lesson, that they
Mhm.
they can take anyone off the street, run them through one of those modules,
Hmm.
then give them the procedure book, and
Right.
then they can flat stack and inventory. They can do all this stuff.
Mhm.
I think I didn't mean to make that sound like a hit on Lowe's. We still shop there, but it didn't work for me because I need some autonomy to
Yeah.
find my own way to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. The box is not where we want to live, And I can tell you this too. I tell you, like, there's some partial truths as to what I've told y'all so far. So, like, the fencing thing, I started that because I saw the end of my run coming at Lowe's, and one thing about corporations, and this is not just Lowe's, I don't think. Uh, One thing about corporations is the more promotions you have, the more vulnerable you become. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the guy who pushes carts, he's never going to get fired. Right.
Right. Right.
But the more keys and the more responsibility you have, now everything becomes more serious. You're right. And sometimes more political and less forgiving as well. Now, one thing about Lowe's, that I absolutely love, and that we learned this stuff, is every department, everything had a stats, period.
Yeah.
There were, you had a budget number, which is, our plan. We had a comp, which is, let's do better than last year. We had our margins, we had our, there were always, we had installed sales metrics, we had special order metrics, we had all these different metrics, and they were given to us on the front end, and as a department manager or an assistant manager, like, when I was given that stuff, like, to me, that was the gospel. When they say, "Hey, Cannon, we need you to, we need the plumbing department to do $2.3 million in sales this year. That's 1.1, and they call it fashion plumbing, and 1.1 in rough plumbing." Like, okay, all right, bet game. That's what I'm. All right, yeah, cool, we'll do that. And I remember, like, very rare, man, very rare did we ever miss our goal. And I remember people that worked for me would get so upset with me because, dude, I would have these green binders. Why was it green? Because green means money, and that's what we're tracking here.
Uh-huh.
I would make these green binders, and, like, I would have a weekly budget. 7 days. I'd divide that out. All right, we had to do $54,000 this week, and divided by 7, that's $7,500 a day or whatever. And then every day thereafter, okay, I would either make that number larger or smaller. Like, hey, look, we needed 7,500, but we did 9. So now we got to do 6,800. You know what I mean? And I would write this down, and every day I would talk about this stuff. But people were like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm gonna do my job the same regardless of how much we need or don't need. Like, I'm gonna do a good job. But listen, I don't understand what I'm telling you right now, but I know it works. Like,
Yeah.
no, knowing the score makes a difference. Okay,
Absolutely.
you're gonna play different. Like, the first game of the season, the NFL, and then the championship game. You think them guys don't play differently? They do. There's something about it.
Yep.
There's something about knowing the platform and the stage. And Sean King says this, and he's not wrong. What gets measured improves. What gets measured and reported improves exponentially. And so I tell you all this because, like, that's who I was. And we would talk about this stuff, and I would take it down to the product groups. Like, hey, guys, our screwdrivers were down 7%. Let's go over here. Let's walk this aisle. Let's look at the screwdrivers. Do we have enough on the shelf? Is it merchandised correctly? Like, used to be in that time frame you were talking about, Lowe's would give even more autonomy, like, to kind of position things kind of where every store could do it differently. Now it's all, like, dang near GPS. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that's where my passion was. Is like, hey, let's hit these numbers. Let's hit these numbers. Now, where my shortcomings were all the little details. Okay. Now, I had so many keys on my belt, man. Like, a Lowe's store, I think at nighttime I had to lock like 34 different doors. Mm-hmm. And you listen to me now. I just ramble. I can just go on and on and on. I get like, what are we talking about? I love numbers. I love sales. I love things, but, like, I hate little details. I mean, I don't want to be the guy that's dust mopping aisle 19. I don't,
Right.
And I would get excited about things. And anyways, I told you, like, some partial truths about the fencing company. Well, I do know, like, a couple of nights I left the door unlocked. Did anything happen? No, nothing happened. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that's my personality, and instead of being like, you know what, Cannon's freaking awesome, man. He's got 6 departments, and all of them are, exceeding the plan that we give him. But he sucks at locking doors. Let's try not to make him responsible for doors. Like, that would have been like a good out. You know what I mean? But instead, the out was, hey, look, we see that you're coming in here and financially you're doing everything right. But we're gonna write you up, and we're gonna see if we can't get rid of you because you left the door unlocked. You know what I mean? Like, and just
silly stuff.
Yeah, kind of. You know what I mean? But I'll stop ranting about that. But I learned a lot. I will never take that away from Lowe's. I learned a crap ton.
Well, and it was, I'm sure it was great experience too. You had already said this, in knowing, hey, here's policies and procedures, and here's how to implement them to get the desired result. Right. Especially when working with team members. I think that's important to have that perspective in a company. I said, I went and worked there for a year and a half, 2 years, maybe. But my sister came in. My sister was at Bass Pro Corporate. So we're the world headquarters of Bass Pro. She worked over in their corporate. And so she brought a lot of that too. A lot of that corporate mentality, as for everything needs to have a plan. Everything needs to have a procedure. We need to have policies in place. I think it's important. I really do. I didn't appreciate it then nearly as much as I do now. them having just their whole procedure book.
That's it.
Well, let's say hi to a few folks. Zach says, just listening to Canon. You betcha.
Hey, thank you, Zach.
Oh, I didn't go up far enough. Oh, here we go. Adam Sims. Hello, hello.
Hey, Adam.
And he's got the coolest hats. Have you seen his hats? He's like, you'll have to check him out. So it's, oh man, it's the Yeti. Nope. Yetis are in snow.
I see it on his Bigfoot profile. It's
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly right. So it's that guy carrying a flag. Coolest hats
cool.
ever.
That is cool.
And me. So I'm not sure. Jacob, I don't know what we're referencing here, but Jacob came from corporate America, so that was maybe he was commenting on that.
Okay.
The one, the only Tony Thornton is here with us.
Tony Thornton. Yes.
Hello, Thornton. I'm excited to see what Tony's got going on. He put out the video yesterday.
Yes.
Just kind of formally announcing his consulting group. I'm excited to see where that thing goes.
Dude, look, I went on his website and I looked at his menu. Have you been to his website?
I have not.
Listen,
Super Sam's going to throttle me because he did the website. So I'm sorry, Sam, but no.
He's got a really good menu of services, and it's very well laid out. Like, do you want help with gate fabrication? Do you want help with chain link installation? Do you want help with gate automation? Like, what do you want help with? This is how many days we can do it for. This is what it's going to cost. Like, it's I'm excited, man.
I like that a lot.
Oh, I mean, he's doing something that is needed, and I'm thinking like, that's what I should have did. But I've not been in it long enough,
No,
so.
But that's the thing. Tony's got 40 plus years experience in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's and in every. I enjoyed talking with him. I still enjoy talking with him, but just because he had that perspective of everything from the manufacturer to the supplier to the wholesaler to the guy building fence, like just the whole rigmarole for sure.
That's right.
I like that. I like the transparent pricing. That was something at Social Media Marketing World. Marcus Sheridan was talking. So Marcus Sheridan has a book called They Ask You Answer, which is like fundamental to everything I talk about. So I went and listened to him talk. And one of the things he said that stuck with it is like the thing that stuck with me the most of the whole week we were there was the contact us for pricing button has to be the biggest middle finger you're giving your potential clients. Like, you know what it costs. They know you know what it costs. Tell them what it costs if you can.
Right.
And I made a post about it. And my point was like, no matter what software you use, we prefer my salesman, but you should have something on your website that will tell your clients what the thing costs or just a range of prices.
Right.
So no, I'm pretty stoked to hear that Tony's got a menu of pricing.
Man, it's neat, man. Check it out after the show. I'm really excited. I'm like, all right, what do we need help with here? Like that's kind of
well, you know what? So we've hired some consultants in the past, not necessarily fencing consultants, but just consultancies. And it always feels like they're testing to see how much you can afford.
Yes.
Right. They're like, well, what problems with this? And well, tell me about your gross. Tell me about your net. Tell me what your finances look like. Like these guys are just seeing, is it 40 grand or is it 80 grand? What can these guys afford? No, I like transparent pricing.
And I don't know what Tony's thing is, but like Mr. Tony, he a lot of times you think consultancy, you think of a long-term thing. I'm sure that's a factor here, but like he's got it broken down into like, hey, I'll come out to Jackson Fence Company, or I'll come out to Ozark Fence Company. We can focus on this. This can be our agenda, okay? And this is what it's going to cost. Do you need help, in your accounting department? We can do that. Do you need help doing chain link gate fabricating? We can do that. Do you need help? There's a lot of stuff on there, man. Sure. It's really cool. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great.
I'm gonna check that out right after this.
Yeah.
Josh started out by subcontract work. It's a great spot to start. I agree. And we're seeing a lot more subs in the last probably 5 years than before, just because easy to get financing. People are lending money like crazy right now. So if you've got 2, 3, 4 years experience at a fence company, you can go finance a truck. You can get a Lowe's card. Now all of a sudden you're a fence contractor,
That's
right?
it.
Or you're a sub.
Mhm.
And it's also making it hard on the company side to tell the difference on who's who
It
in
is.
kind of the sub world.
It
But
is.
like I said, our sub, our partners that Matt Werner calls them, we love them. I love these guys so much. You just got to figure out which tool to use on the right project. Really. Kasurk is here. Hey guys, great show. Coming to you from Philly. We're going to be up in Philly at Kasurk. Man, in 2 months, April. Nope, this is April. So next month in May. Good grief.
What do you got going on in Philly?
He's putting on a training. He's putting on Kasurk Distributors is putting on like a on the road staining university type training.
Oh wow.
They're actually going to have a little bit of everybody there, but yeah, little training going. Not a little training. It's just a satellite training, I guess I'd say.
Nice. Hey, speaking of stain and seal.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, no, let me just go ahead and ask you.
Yeah.
Man, I just had a brain. Caleb, is he going to give you a new banner, or are you keeping that one because it has an orange lid? The new one doesn't have an orange lid, does it?
No, it was totally rebranded too. So,
I
like the whole bucket design's different. We do need a new one. I'll
reach out. Did he take the orange off the lid? That's a low blow.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about that. We'll talk. I love this one when it showed up so much. I'm like, dude. Yes, that I love it. And then the redesign happened. I'm like, really?
That redesign though, it looks like something you would see at freaking like Lowe's,
it is sharp.
Sharon Williams, or yeah.
Well, and that was the reason. That was one of the reasons behind it. Is they also reformulated. So now the fence stain has a ton more pigment in it. So it's a legitimately better, improved product. Yeah. But yeah, they also improved the image of it for sure. I mean, it looks. I'd seen it a few times before FenceEx, but FenceEx was the first time I'd actually seen it like presented like to the public. I think it looks so nice.
It's very nice.
APEC, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Love listening to stories, experience, and you guys are great at speaking and holding audience attention. Thank you. We're just talking about fence stuff.
It's easy.
Adam says, I love the idea of subs. It seems if you can maintain great communication expectations from both sides, you should be in good shape. Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, the right tool for the right job. Absolutely. Vero Fence says, good morning. Have a great weekend. Love catching the show live. I love you catching the show live. So thank you, Vero Fence. Dust mopping depends on the size of the mop. That's probably true too. That's probably true. Well, and the worst part was like, I don't know. So they'd have me do this, right? And then the overnight cleaners show up with their little like ride-on things. They're gonna mop this thing anyway.
Right.
Like what? What are we doing here? Adam Sims is coming to us from Georgia. Freedom Fence. Hello, Adam.
Did he just change his profile picture?
He did. Let me scroll up here. I just
while we were live.
He absolutely did because I was trying to. No, wait.
Was it Facebook?
That was Facebook. Facebook versus YouTube. Okay, all right. So he's hitting us on both platforms. Thank you. Appreciate.
Thanks for the double watch. I like that.
Very smart, Cannon, and great job taking the opportunity to educate yourself and grow. Makes you more valuable.
Yeah, thanks.
I think that's a huge takeaway here too, Cannon, is that you invested in yourself. You said you'd go buy those books and then you just learn all of what that particular department needed you to know. Mm-hmm. I think that's huge too. And that's what we try to teach here is that the more you know and the more valuable you can be, the better for both of us.
You see her back here?
I see it.
That's her Bucky's blanket.
I love it. But Apex says it's opposite where they live in Florida, more Home Depots than Lowe's. We're in a very Lowe's heavy place here. I think we've got 4 or 5 in like the whole like metro area, to one Home Depot.
Wow.
The Home Depot's, they've got good price on the Alta Pickets. That's it. They've got a better price than Master Halco. Our branch of Master Halco has right now.
Don't let them know. Let's edit that part out.
Yeah.
No, look, we went through a drought, man, and I'm so glad they finally got them back at Home Depot. I mean, it was like a year and a half long.
Yeah.
Nope, you're not having it.
Well, yeah, no, it's because I was talking to. Well, I don't want to. I was talking to somebody at Master Halco, and they had said because I was like the company that owns Master Halco also owns Alta. They have common ownership. I was like, how is it I can buy this picket cheaper at Home Depot than I can through you guys? And he's like, well, we still buy them from them. Like, I know, but how? Like, how does Master Alco get a better price than you do? But his point was, and I'm sure it's true, that they use that as a loss leading item. That way, get you in the store, just like concrete. So here's a crazy thing. So we buy all of our concrete, our Quickcrete, our Satcrete through Lowe's by the semi-load, cheaper than we can go to Ash Grove and buy the Satcrete from them. He was like, listen, I talked to one of the reps out there. He's like, I'd love to sell it to you, but they sell it to you for less than I can. How does that make sense?
Like, it doesn't make sense. It's a loss leader, and which is good if you're walking through the store. You need 10 bags of concrete and some 4x4s, but when you're playing the system, like, no, I want you to bring the concrete through me.
Yeah,
it's just a straight loss, I guess.
It is. Well, and I guess I don't know. I'm here for it. I'm okay with it. Phil says, "Could you guys play some Ted Nugent?" Well, fortunately, Phil, it's not a radio show.
Copyright.
If we played some Ted, now listen, I'm here for Uncle Ted. Okay, I do listen to Ted, but the show would get a warning for that.
Where did that come from? Is he just a fan or
I don't know,
something we said?
Just wanted to hear some Ted Nugent. I don't know.
It's not a bad thing.
No, Nathan says knowing the score matters. Well said, Cannon. I agree, and that's something that we're trying to figure out here. Is how can we put scoreboards up? I like your analogy, I really do, because people play harder when they know what the score is, right? When they know if they're having a difference, if they're making a difference, right? So I was watching a video it was Seeger's Fence out on the East Coast, massive operation, and in their fabrication shop, they've got TVs up that say, kind of like what you were saying, here's goal, here's actual, like, and every time they check a gate off, bing, actual goes up. So they can see that they're having an impact on whatever the goal is.
That's cool.
I think it's huge.
It is. Joe, do y'all fabricate gates at
Yeah, we've got a fab shop, so we can do up to, I saw those big gates you did. Holy cow. So we cap out at about 45 foot gates. I mean, I guess we could do 2 leaves.
Do the space or just like, are you like, it's too big?
Space. No, it's generally space. So we did a 50-foot last year, and we just had to we had to leave the door open, and we like just slid it out the door sort of thing. Our shop is only so big that because probably a third of the shop is in inventory for fittings for retail wholesale. So it's just kind of where those make sense to sit.
Do you guys have like a CFS program there?
We do have CFS. We don't really use it so much anymore. You mean for like shop drawings?
Yeah.
Yep. It's so we have some base drawings that we use that then we can make copies and modify if needed.
So we've had this CFS for a while, man, and I just like while I was on vacation, like every time I go on vacation, I kind of like tackle like a small project, and this year I tackled like 3, but I always do the same thing. I wake up in the hotel room, I work to like 11 on my computer, then I just go hang out by the pool. It's pretty easy life, but CFS, I got in there just the other day, and I figured out how to make those shop drawings of gates, and we are doing more and more and more of that stuff. Like a year ago, we never did this, and now, like, I don't know, we've built like 10 cantilevers in the past like 4 weeks, and it's like, why? What the heck? I don't even know what happened, Joe. I really don't, but that's what we're doing. But what I'm seeing is that like it's takes a whole lot of conversation when you can't just like draw it out or put it on a work order, like a clipboard system, it's a whole lot of conversation. It's like, all right, well, this is what we got. This is what it is. It's going to slide that way or this, it's like, man, I just want to be able to print these things out. Slides left, it slides right.
Yep.
Boom, go get it, and I don't know. I think the CFS thing is going to be very helpful to accomplish that.
Well, and it really avoids confusion. It really does avoid confusion. So our problem here in our office is completely Mac just because everything plays really well together and you can add something new to it really easily.
Mm-hmm.
But CFS is Windows. So we've got one computer that we've got a like Windows emulator on. That way it thinks it's Windows. And anyway, it's a whole thing. But yeah, so we basically printed off a bunch of blank shop drawings, like for here's residential gate, here's commercial gate, here's 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, and then we just make copies of them, and then we'll put 6x4 or 6x3 foot, 8 inches, whatever it is. But you're right. If you can hand a picture to somebody, it takes a lot of that confusion out of it, a lot of the misunderstanding out of it. Sure. All right. Todd says, good morning from Boston. Good morning, Todd.
Boston, Massachusetts, I guess.
Massachusetts.
That's cool.
It's Nick. Hi, Joe. Hope you're doing well. I am Nick. Thank you, buddy. Tony Thornton says, thanks for the kind word, guys. This chapter of life is going to be great and hopefully share some passion and knowledge. So I made a comment on Tony's LinkedIn post yesterday, and I meant what I said when I said it's been really great to see how much Tony has pushed the industry forward so far in the last, I think it was 8 years as executive director. So imagine now that he's kind of free to do his own thing. Imagine what, like, I'm here to watch him raise the tide himself. Like, if we're talking about the rising tide raises all the ships, Tony's going to push it forward.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, man.
I'm excited. All right.
I mean, he was kind of working for a corporation in a way, like, he's got his, do's and don'ts, and now he's just he's got the complete autonomy to do what, where, when,
He can decide what he presents and how he presents it, and yeah, I think it's going to be huge. I really do. I mean, I'm here for it. I need to get, so Tony, I'm going to send you an email after this and get you on the show so we can talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Miguel says, when's your next drawing for a weekend with Joe Everest? So Jason is our most recent winner. We announced that a couple weeks ago. He's coming from Boulder, Colorado next month, which is April. So May, we will reopen the drawing to come spend. It's not a weekend. It's a few days. So what it is we fly you in Thursday, put you up Thursday night, Friday, spend a day with me and my team, Saturday, do the live, and then head back home. So I guess maybe it could be a weekend. But yeah, so Miguel will be watching for that in May.
Joe, somehow I've not heard of this.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Have you been doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I say been doing it. This is like the second round. So we've been doing it for about 4 or 5 months, to where we basically, Jeremy, the producer, puts together a Google form that you fill out based on years of experience, annual income, or not income, but revenue, and basically like what you're trying to get out of your business, like where you're trying to grow your business, how we can help you. And then we open it up for a month. So in this case, so May we'll open it up. June, April, May, June. So May we'll open it up and decide. And then June we have them out. Is that right? January, February, March, April. Yeah. So we're having April, May, June, July. They'll come out. So at the end of July they'll come out. But
you had a guy on your show about 2 months ago, a guy from California, I believe.
Yeah, Kevin from Tacoma, Washington.
Was Washington? Was that one of them?
That was the first winner.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So he was the first winner, which is funny. So Kevin's going to come. In this industry, you meet people and you become friends, and like you're ever for always friends again. But Kevin's coming through here next month. Just coming through for vacation. They're going to vacation down in Branson.
Wow.
He's like, hey, I'm gonna come by, come say hi to the guys, see everybody. Like, absolutely. I love it.
Fan for life.
Yeah. I mean, we're all in the fence family, right? In the hashtag fence fam. So, but no, yeah. So we're doing these quarterly. So we're going to have 4 winners a year. Come spend the day with me and the team, and it always coincides with the final Friday, so that we have all of our team under one roof. So the final Friday is when we do our monthly meetings, our safety meeting, or just check in with everybody. And yeah, so final Friday they're going to come in. They'll have access to everybody. So whether Kevin wanted to learn a little bit about retail wholesale, so I got him with Candace talking about retail wholesale, but also residential. So I got him with my sister Sarah. He brought his dad with him, so his dad, and my dad, had a good time just kind of chatting about stuff, and then yeah, had a day
Hey,
of it.
when we get through these comments, I want to go back to that final Friday. But let's
Yep,
I'm interested.
absolutely.
I'm interested in that.
We'll be here the rest of the day talking about it. I'm a huge fan of this idea. Well, and I stole it from Matt Warner, so it's going to sound pretty familiar.
It's good then.
Curtis Hale says, it seems to me that using subs would open the door to lots of headaches. What's y'all's experience with that? It can, but a lot of times these guys, the reason they're subs is because they're really good at what they do, right? And they're really good at what they do. They provide their own tools and equipment, so they typically have backups for things and all that. We use subs that we really, really do enjoy working with on the commercial space. Now, that the headaches could be, they are fully independent, so they get to set their schedules. And also, if they are an independent subcontractor, they tell you what they're going to charge for it, which is a little bit scary because you've already bid the job. Like you already have the job typically. Now on big jobs, we bring them into the bidding process just to say, hey, what would you be on this? But on the residential space, you can't really have them in on every single job because you're bidding 5 or 6 of them a day or something. But
do you not have like a menu, like, hey, it's gonna be this much a foot kind of agreement? Or
well, so if they they can give you that. They can tell you what that's going to be. Yeah, so they could. They could give you a per foot and a per gate. The problem is but what if they hit rock, right? So then there's a rock clause involved. This could be different for everyone. This is just kind of my experience with it. But on, like I said, on the commercial job, these guys, they really make our job a lot easier because they roll in with their own trucks, trailers, equipment. It's a family, so they can grow from one crew's 3 guys, one crew's 2 guys. Well, then they can combine to 5, but then they can go pick up cousins and everything else, and then they can grow to 10, 12, 14 people.
But you could also have a situation, I guess. I guess one of the cons is like you got a job and you meet with a client, and then you find out that the subcontract crew they've got their own jobs for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they can't do it. I guess.
Yep.
But the big benefit is it's a whole fixed cost system, right?
Exactly. And it's all the costs rolled into one number. It's the payroll tax, it's the insurance, it's the equipment, it's equipment upkeep. It's a cleaner number for sure.
Yeah, no surprises.
That's right. So, I mean, Curtis, they all have their pros and cons. Like I said, we use a mixture just because we try to put the pros with the pros and the cons with the cons and all that. So that because people would waste opportunity to educate themselves, which can be a shame. So yeah, so APEC had made the comment about you investing in yourself, Cannon, in with the books and taking time to learn each division. And some people aren't here for that. Some people want a job, they don't want a career. They want to clock in and clock out and do the minimum, which teach their own. Yeah, no, I agree. Those folks are pretty easy to see. And what's funny, there are some people that skate under the radar. They like to just fly right under the radar. They don't want to grow too much because then nothing gets asked of them. And yeah,
it's a weird concept, isn't it?
It is. I mean, there's, well, I guess there's still guys working at that Lowe's that were there when I was there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Different departments, different doing, but I walk by and I'm like, hey,
I remember, man, there would be guys that worked in, like, let's say flooring, right? And like an all over, what they call it, windows and walls.
Yeah.
and like somebody would hit that little button to say, you know how they would cut the blinds or whatever. That,
Oh
that was a little bit tricky. I ain't gonna lie to you.
yeah.
But I specifically remember like we had guys that had been working in the flooring department for like 14 years, like 30 yards from this machine. And that thing would go off. And I specifically remember saying, hey, Jim, can you go help that lady with the blinds? Man, I don't know how to cut them blinds. And I'm like, dude, you've been like 30 yards away from it for 14 years and you never like
Yeah, not once.
how do you stay back that long? Are you lying to me? Or are you just like that low on initiative that
Yeah.
you know, it just doesn't make sense, you know? And
That buzzer thing, because you'd have some guys that wouldn't go answer it because they're like, no, that's not my department. It doesn't reflect on me.
And
it's in your store.
And it's
like
a
they track
timer.
that at the store level.
Yeah, like the first ding, customer assistance at the hardware desk. That's 15 seconds. And then the second time, if you remember this, it goes ding, ding twice. That's 30. And then 4. And then, you know, it just keeps going and going and going. And eventually the time out, you know. But that stuff is tracked, man. And as a manager, like that's the one thing you don't want to hear. It's like the next day that your call box response time was like out of sight, you know. So
that was part of when I was there as part of the store's scorecard.
Yes,
was average response time to the call box. Yeah,
yep. Call box.
And then you'd have guys that are like, nope, I'm in electrical. That's in plumbing, not me.
Yeah. I ain't covering.
Go press the button. Like just go press it, and then say, I'm going to help you find somebody who is in this department.
It's your job, bro. Like do it.
Right. Yeah, it's in your store. Like that's As Zach says, they save over $1 bag buying from Lowe's over Alco. Yeah, that's crazy. It really is. So Alta sells to Home Depot at a higher volume than Master Alco. Home Depot buys more. Yeah, and I guess that's probably what the Master Alco guy was trying to explain to me. It just seems
wrong.
I don't know. It seems kind of bonkers that they sell outside their family of companies cheaper.
I tell you what else seems bonkers though, man. And I ain't saying nothing. I mean, I ain't, you know, a conspiracy theory here, but like, I remember. Look, I have not been fencing long, but I remember when Alta and Master Alco were not the same thing. They were not, you know, owned by the same parent. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And there's also a period of time where Alta was readily available, and it's like, I know we've gone through COVID and some crap, you know what I mean? But like, it seemed like when that merger that buyout happened.
So
it changed. You know what I mean?
It changed because they shut down mills. So when Alta was purchased, they shut down like 2 or 3 of their mills for underproducing. So I would bet that had something to do with it. You know, conspiracy theory or not, like that's my thinking is they're like, well, we just don't have the production capacity to make boards. Well, no kidding. You shut down 3 mills. I bet you don't. Like, you know, if you shut it down to 1 mill, you'd really have production problems. But same here, and can actually get the product as normal channels are back ordered. Crazy still. Yeah, so probably talking about the Master Alco Lowe's thing. All right. Live in a place where pools are everywhere, and that means fences and gates. You wouldn't believe how many gates are not built correctly, and blows my mind because they fail in less than a year. Absolutely. Number one callback, like in a national survey, number one callback on fences is gates. And it's probably not even close.
It's the only part of the whole fence that the customer is really engaging with, you know, as well. And so I always say, like, you've got to hone in on that. You know, if you've got something going on in that back corner back there, it may not be as big of a deal, you know, but like that gate, that's the touch point. You know, they're going to see it, they're going to feel it, they're going to use it. Make sure your gate is good.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So on commercial work, we had a guy with us for a while. He used to do a bunch of pipeline work. He said now they're doing like miles of fence. He's like, here's the thing. You only got inspected 25 feet on either side of the gate because that's what the inspector uses every day is he'll go through that gate every day and then he'll look down this way and he'll look down this way. And I always kind of remember that when like I'm talking to our guys is like, listen, you need to, when we're doing our quality walk around, you start at the gates. You inspect everything around the gates. You inspect the gates. and then you start your walk, because the gate, like to your point, it's the thing that the customer interacts with the most by default. But yeah, bad gates. Is it? Listen, my next $1 million idea is we're gonna have a crew, and all that crew does is gates, gate repair and gate replacement. That's, I'm gonna teach them how to just be rock stars at gates, how to troubleshoot and fix gates. And then we're gonna advertise that. Hey, do you have a gate that drags, or what is it? Drag, sags, or I don't know. I had a whole saying. I thought about this the other day. Then you need Ozark Fence. Give us a call. Fence repair starting at X dollars.
Sound like a little Django, Joe.
I had it all worked out. Is it sag, drag, or dut? I need to write this stuff down. I was in the shower though, so it's kind of hard to write things down in the shower.
I get it.
Victoria, hello, Victoria says, I like your work ethic because it's not the norm, so it makes you really stand out as a great business person. A customer can respect and trust you. I appreciate that, Brett. Victoria. Absolutely.
What kind of points though now? Like you have to work hard. Like there's no option.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to somebody about that the other day, because they're like, yeah, work smarter, not harder. Actually, now it's you have to work smarter and harder. Like it's not an either or scenario here.
That's right.
And that's a real thing too that we should probably do some content around. Is I think there's some guys that really think that they can just work a ton of hours, work really hard for a lot of time, and just wind up successful, like just because they put in so much time. Like I really don't think that's the case.
It's not, and if it is, it's not worth it. Yeah.
Well, you end up burnt out. I mean, that's burnout in itself.
I see some of these younger guys, man, on these groups, and I always think like, man, they're killing it. But I'm also thinking like, there comes a day when you're like, man, it just doesn't end. You know what I'm saying? Like there comes a day where you're like, man, this doesn't make sense. I'm not doing this. This is not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You wake up on a Sunday, and instead of going to church, you're doing work stuff.
Yeah.
That was kind of my story. Is right after I bought the business, I just started pouring tons of hours into it, and just really, and we were seeing results. We were successful for it, but it was a Sunday, and I woke up and I'm like, I told my wife, like, I can't go to church with you guys today. I gotta, I had some bids to finish out, and she's like, Joseph Eugene, you need to figure out your priorities when you're not going to church, because you got to do some work. Okay. I hear that. Understood.
And I'm still guilty of it. Like and all we can do is try to figure it out. What'd you say one day to me? It wasn't long ago at all. You're like, we're in a constant.
Yeah, we're always figuring it out.
Yeah,
constant state of figuring it out. That's real. That's so real. And this is one thing I'm realizing by talking to guys is, like, I'll talk to guys that I really think like they've got it all figured out. Like they have this fence thing dialed into a T, and then you spend some time talking to them, and they'll tell you, they're like, man, I just can't figure this thing out. Like I'm really working on this one big problem, and I just don't. And it finally just kind of hit me. I'm like, everyone's trying to figure it out. Like there's no one. And if there is someone that thinks they have it figured out, they probably just stopped looking for problems.
That's exactly true, man. That's exactly true. There's a lot to be said about, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know, So like, if you don't realize that there's a problem, you're probably going to be cool with it. You know what I mean? But the moment that you realize that you've not been doing something right, it's like, I don't know. For me, like I start freaking out until I can figure it out.
Yeah. There's always a problem. There's always a problem to be sorted out.
So Joe, I want to hear more. You were saying the final
Fridays.
Yeah.
So last Friday of the month. So we actually just had one last week, not this past week. Anyway, so everyone's here. We schedule no production work. Like there's no fences being installed. Now I say there's no gates being built. We also sell retail wholesale. Sometimes there's some gates being built, but we're doing, building improvement projects or building repair projects. We're also incorporating. So Saturday we had this. So last Saturday we weren't live because I was having an advisory council meeting. So we have an advisory council here now, which is basically a department head meeting. And one of the things we talked about now is we're going to incorporate safety meetings into a safety talk into each one of these Final Fridays. So and we did that. We did that this on this Final Friday because we had a guy had a mishap with his nail gun, and he got to go to the urgent care and get that sorted out. So in talking with him, like I totally understood it. Like we did the after accident report on the record and tell me what happened and how did what mistakes were made and how can they that whole thing. But so I'll tell you. So he had his nail gun because the first thing I thought I was like, is the bump safety, is it in place? Because that's usually the first thing the guys take out is the bump safety. That way they can just fire the gun.
I didn't know you could even do that. That's not good.
No, it's not. It's not. So that was my first question. I was like, hey, that bump safety's like fully intact, right? Like, oh yeah. Like, oh, okay. That's not what I thought it was then. How did this thing go wrong? He's like, well, I was holding the board and then I was getting ready to go nail it. And then the wind blew that nail and I went to go catch it while the nail gun into the arm. I was like, oh, so you hold your finger on the trigger.
That's it.
So now it's a bump shoot.
Right.
Got it. So that was the cause of the accident. So the resolution is no more holding your finger on the trigger and you don't shoot yourself in the arm anymore. But that was basically our safety talk. So we have a safety talk. We also talk about the month in review. So each department head talks about what we did this past month. So like Sarah would say, we sold this many jobs last month. We got this much completed last month. It represented X revenue for the company. We had this many callbacks, and this is the thing I'm working on. Like whatever area for improvement. Then my dad does the same thing for commercial. Here's what we sold. Here's what's coming up this next month, so that the fabrication guys know. He'll say I sold 4 cantilevers, 6 single gates, 10 double, like whatever the number is, so that they know it's coming. So they don't get an order for 3 cantilevers and a double gate and go, where did this come from?
Yeah, right.
And then production talks about how many gates they built, areas for improvement, just notable activities, areas they need help. So that's kind of a big thing is like, what problem are you working on? What do you need help with? So that the whole company is at the same table. So I also cook lunch. We cook tri-tips because I really enjoy eating tri-tip. Listen, man, it's a pretty easy cook too. I mean, we get I fed 18 people, 19 people for like $120, and that includes dessert. I went and got a couple pies from the pie place. But anyway, we're all at the same table. Is my point.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
It is, and we all get to hear about what the company did, right? And so part of this is understanding the why. Why did we have to make this many gates last month? Well, that's because Sarah sold this much residential, Jim sold this much commercial, Candace sold a ton of custom panels on the retail wholesale side. It gives better understanding, And then we talk about retail wholesale, fabrication, production, and then we do accolades. So we'll do who got 5-star review, who got mentioned in 5-star reviews, and then we do accolades from like internal accolades. We do external accolades, which are reviews, and then internal accolades where someone say, hey, listen, I saw so-and-so busting it all month long. He deserves an accolade, and so we'll talk about stuff like that. And that's kind of our final Friday. It takes like 2 hours to get through.
Sounds like this is like communication on steroids.
Yep.
Which is good.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of power, in your position, you kind of have a high level chair. You can kind of see what the shop is doing and what the install crews are doing, what salespeople. But it's good. I feel like for the people that hold those jobs, one, they're able to see what everybody else's workload is like. Like, hey, I'm not the only one that's busted in my butt, or like you said, the why, and we do something similar, but I think it's good to have a formal, we call it like a transition projects from the sales department, let's say, to the production department. Instead of just having these folders and random things laying around, like we do it every week. We do a Tuesday thing.
I like it.
Try to keep it to an hour. We talk about what was sold last week. What things should we focus on? What needs to change? Any just like a round table discussion, and then let's look at each job that got sold as a team. All the people who have influence over making sure these things go off without a hitch. Let's go over them one by one, even if they're simple. And if they're simple, that's great. Let's talk about it for a minute and put it up and move on. But that way, any questions, if there's notes on a diagram or a contract that are unclear, we don't, now everybody who needs to know about that job is right there looking over that same document together, and getting it hashed out. So when it does come time to do that job, we're not stressed out or spinning our tires or, paying 3 guys to sit there while we try to find an answer, so finding that stuff on the front end,
I like that a lot. I do like the idea of weekly meetings. And this is just an internal thing. Like we've got guys that work. So the first crew shows up at 6. So they're 6 to 2. The next round is 7:30 to 4. Then the other round is 8:30 to 5. So we've got some guy. I want to be covered, for the entire day. The tricky part there is getting the 6:30 guys to stay till 7:30, and then having the 8:30 guys come in early at 7. You know what I mean? Like it's all fixable. Like we can certainly sort this out.
Do you mean the production crews or?
Yeah, production starts at 6:30.
See, we don't bring those guys. Those guys aren't in this meeting. This is more of a we have a project coordinator, guy, and a shop guy, the sales people, the office, so everybody's kind of is becoming familiar with the different names of the people that we've sold fences to this week. And
gotcha.
If there's any kind of like, oh man, we're going to have this widget that we don't have to do this job. Like, let's put a plan in place. Like, where do we get that widget from? When do we expect it to be here? And we'll put a note on the folder. Like we do a lot of things digital, man, Joe, but when it comes down to like the actual job, it's in a freaking folder with paper. You know what I mean? And to me, I like it. You know what I mean? Everything's digital, but when it comes down to it, there's an actual production folder that we hold and we look at, and it's color coordinated, and we'll send it out with the shop guy for a few hours to get pulled and prepped and everything. And it'll come back. Then the production coordinator will take it, and he'll usually go out and scout this job and make sure there's not any conflict that's going to cause problem the day of the install. And then he'll come back with it, and then the installers will take it and they build it, and they come back with it and they turn it into the office, And so that folder, I guess we trust that folder doesn't get lost, but
right.
It takes some trips.
See, that's probably one thing we're trying to figure out what our organization chart should look like here. It's one of the things that we've never really done in a dedicated way is having like a production manager. So Sarah and my dad, they each handle both sales and production. So Sarah just manages all the projects she sells, but we're getting to the point where we could probably use a production manager. I think there's only so much you can do in a day, sort of thing.
I don't know how it is for you guys, but like, 6 years ago, I had never built fence or anything. So like, when we started this conversation, you're like, "Hey, tell me how your fence thing started." I was like, "Well, I faked it, Well, that lasted for it's still lasting, Joe. We're still faking it. But, when the guy that owns the company and starts the company, he doesn't know all the ins and outs. Like that kind of trickles down. You know what I mean? Like usually the guy at the top or whatever, he's going to be at the very best, and then everybody's going to be kind of a watered down version of him. Well, the guy at the top is really watered down, and not that I'm not good. I mean, I can build good fence, but for the longest time, Joe, just the way that I learned was, well, that's a residential top rail and that's a commercial top rail, and like, that's how we identified stuff. But now we're like, I feel bad because I wasn't speaking correctly, and now, I'm like, hey, let's get some collars and a drop latch, and I'm like, hey, make sure we get 1 5/8, and like they're looking at me like, nobody knows what that means. I'm like, well, man, I didn't do this right. We should have been talking 1 3/8, 1 5/8, 1
Sure.
7/8. We should have been using that terminology all the time. 065, 20 weight, 40 weight, but we wasn't. It was just commercial or not commercial, and so anyways, we're trying to, I don't even know where I was going with that, but yeah, I don't know where that come from, but
no, I mean, that's just talking about from the top down. Just make sure there's understanding from the top down.
Yeah, so that's one thing we're focused on, and getting our QuickBooks. Like we use QuickBooks for inventory. You probably got something more sophisticated than that. I see what you're doing, but
yeah, no, we don't. We use QuickBooks for inventory, and we are at the capacity of what QuickBooks can do for inventory. But there's others out there. There's I think Lightspeed is one of them, and there's different things out there. But the problem is you're introducing another piece of software into your company that still has to work with the software that you're currently using. So it's we haven't had the best luck integrating things into QuickBooks without it just jacking up, whether it's our products and services, list, jacking that up, or jacking up the profit and loss statement, or I don't know. We're trying to make it work with QuickBooks, but it's a process. We're doing a lot. We're doing quite a bit of volume in e-commerce now. We're selling a bunch online, and I told you earlier today, we're having kind of some issues there. So we're selling on Amazon now, which seems exciting, and it is, but that's a whole different problem. You got to figure out how to integrate it with your shipping software. But no, I don't know where I was. Yeah. So we still use QuickBooks for inventory. It's a bit clunky, but
hey, Joe, let's Jeannie Abercrombie, the last comment come in. She has 5 minutes. Let's see what we can talk about her.
I'm getting a fence estimate in about 5 minutes. One side and a front gate. What important questions do I ask? Jenny, here we are. Let's figure this out. So
can we talk to the salesperson by chance? Is there any way?
Yeah. Have them call in real quick. We've got some questions for them. So Ken, what do you think? So she's getting a fence estimate. So important question. I ask you that right as you take a drink. I'm sorry.
No. I've been drinking.
What do you think is important to ask right off the bat?
Man, what is today? Saturday? Yeah, so Saturday. So that's odd, a little bit. But I would want to know, first of all, Jenny, I'm very anti these guys that don't have insurance and don't have work comp. I'm those people in my mind are terrible people for the way they operate. And they put the guys that have to build the fence in a really, really bad spot. So one question I would ask, and they're not going to be able to prove this, probably because they won't have the paperwork with them, but they should legally have the paperwork with them. I would ask for insurance documents or certificates, say, hey, I've had an experience with contractors before, and if you're going to work here and be my contractor, you're going to have insurance. And I just, for peace of mind, I need to see that,
Yeah. So that's pretty common over on the commercial. So,
what are you wanting built, Jenny? Is it a wood fence or chain link fence?
Well, so she just said she's over in the San Diego area. So probably redwood's really big over on the West Coast. So it could be like a redwood privacy. So San Diego is actually where that social media marketing world was at. There's a ton of ornamental, like a just massive amount of ornamental. So it could be that, but no, Canon's spot on. Certificate of insurance. And one thing to tell them, what I would ask for before they start work is a certificate of insurance that lists you as additional insured. So that if they do get hurt on your property, if they do damage something on your property, you're listed as additional insured for that project. That's huge. Licensing. So San Diego, California, they're going to have to be licensed with the state at a minimum. San Diego, they're also going to have a business license. But
I would ask I'm just trying to think like me, like when we sell a fence, I'd want to know about the gate. We just got done talking about gates. Like,
Yeah.
what is? I see now she's saying wood or vinyl. She's not sure which one.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the wooden gate. Is it a wooden gate? Is it a metal gate? Does it have a metal post? Are they using what kind of hinges are they using? Like, there's a lot of stuff. And Jenny, they should, in my mind, like when we do this, it's there's a spec sheet. We have Joe, you use Job Nimbus. You probably have a spec sheet.
Yep.
You select wood privacy gate or whatever, however you got it coded in there, and it details out what that is. What kind of latch it is, what kind of hinge system it is, what kind of framing it is. So Jenny, they should articulate to you how that gate is going to be built, and whether it's wood or vinyl. You ought to see the word metal, steel, aluminum somewhere, on that.
I think the most telling thing there, Cannon, is ask them what their warranty is in regards to the gates. What do you warranty? Do you warranty that the gate will work, and for how long? Like we'll issue, we do a lifetime workmanship warranty on the entire fence, but that includes gates. So if something goes wrong on that gate because of the way we installed it, we're going to come back. Whether it's a year from now, it's 5 years from now. So the warranty can be really telling also. Ask what the warranty is.
Yep. What kind of Joe was talking about redwood. What kind of wood is it?
Yeah.
If it's not wood and you want vinyl, what vinyl manufacturer is it? And they should be able to name. Of course, right now it's kind of tricky. So if they say, well, it'll be either this vinyl or that vinyl, like trust them on that. Just we are sourcing from different places for different things right now. That
yep.
That's just a little bit different. But I would do some research. If they say whatever name they say, I just research the names of those vinyl and see what you get. And then call Joe Everest and tell him. No, I'm kidding.
Ask for some references too, both recent and one that's like 2+ years old. So you want to see, hey, what is their current state of work look like, their current workmanship, but also what's it look like after a period of time. Say I'd like a job that you guys got done within the last year, and then a job that's 2+ years old. You can just go drive by and take a look at. Licensing, insurance, tradecraft, warranty. So do a little bit of research also. Better Business Bureau. I mean, Google. You can Google them now and know all of what you need to know. There's also, you can search California CaseNet, which will give you an idea of any of the legal proceedings that involves that company on both sides. So whether they are the defendant or the what's the other one? I don't know. The defendant's when you did something wrong. The other ones are when anyway.
And then Jenny, I would also say, like, once this is done, ask yourself, what questions did they ask me? Because in my mind, a salesperson should be kind of a consultant at the same time, and it shouldn't just be hey, I'm going to come out here and measure this, and it's this many widgets per that many widgets. They should be asking, like, what's the purpose of your fence? What kind of fence have you had before? What did you like about that? What did you not like about it? Do you have pets? Do you have kids? How long do you plan on being in this home? What's like, they should be asking you as many questions as you ask them, I feel like. And for each of those questions they ask you, they should be building like kind of a pros and cons list. Well, look, you said you have this. Well, this is why a wood fence would be good for you. However, a vinyl fence would also be good. However, it's more money. There should be an understanding between you and that person.
And you could say, a question I like asking when I'm hiring people like around the house is, what does the process look like? What does it look like to move forward? What does it look like during the whatever I'm having you do? And also, what's the process look like at the end? What are the payment terms? What are, do I get, and it's not do I get, it's like I will expect a lien waiver that references exactly how much the job was for and that sort of thing. So, hope that helped.
Plaintiffs.
So it's defendants and plaintiffs. Accused is good. That would be defendants, I think. But it's Jenny, there's all these questions to ask, but if they have their insurance, if they're licensed with your state, if they can give you good solid references, you're off to a really good start. And then it's just understanding the process.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like to move forward with you, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So APEC had a good point. What's the time frame they're expecting? Don't be completely taken aback if there's a bit of a question mark in there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 4 to 6 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
or 6 to 8 weeks. You can't give me an exact date depending on what kind of fencing. No.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we got when we were going through the shortages, we would just say we are 4 weeks from when we receive your materials. Now, how long is it going to take the material to get here? Not in my control. I don't know. But yeah, time frame's a big one.
She says we're great, Joe. But she also says they're here.
All right. Well, let us know how it goes. How it goes.
Good luck.
Well, Cannon, I know you need to get out of here too.
Yes.
We've been taken away from your family time, and I know the natives are probably growing restless, they're ready to get out and stretch their legs.
We're gonna head up to Buc-ee's, and then we're gonna head up about 30 minutes from here. We're gonna go see Alex Harris and Chris Cornelius with Fencing Unlimited.
There you go.
I saw his name on here earlier, but he said he's on a bulldozer this morning. But
hey,
anyways, so we're going to visit him and see his operation. But Joe, listen, I have enjoyed myself thoroughly, man. Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on. I think we all get better by learning each other's stories and kind of figuring out that we're all in this thing together. We all have similar problems.
And got to give a TikTok plug. That was on your heading. I saw that.
Yeah, we talked about that in the description and didn't even bring it up.
There's so much to talk about. But at sign, Jackson Fence Co.
Jackson Fence Co.
That's where you can find us on TikTok. Joe, I don't understand TikTok to this day. I really do not. But somehow or another, we jumped on a gate one day and kind of said something silly about concrete, and people liked it. Now when we post stuff, like, I don't know, just kind of we got a little traction on there, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's there's a lot of haters on there as well, but we do the TikTok thing, and I enjoy it. And my wife says that I'm too addicted to it, and she's probably not wrong, But
yeah, I'm on TikTok every night, and it seems like I'm watching you do something on there. But so my wife, we put the kids to bed, and she goes and takes a bath. That's her like wind down time. Well, then I go out on the porch, and I have a cigar, and I watch TikToks. That's kind of like my nightly routine.
It's too easy to just flip through there,
Yep. And then you get to the one guy that's like, whoa, hang on a minute. You've been scrolling for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's my warning.
But it kind of
TikTok's telling me I've been here too much.
But it kind of tells too a story like look, I went through this. I know we got to go, man, but I went through this program this past fall with the Chamber of Commerce locally, and there was a lot of PowerPoint presentations that happened, and these would be hour-long PowerPoint conversations, and sometimes 6 or 7 of those in a day. That's a lot,
Yeah.
a whole lot. And I would get so frustrated, and all I could think about, Joe, is like we are living in a time where people are learning life skills and trades and techniques in 30-second increments on TikTok. We don't have to have a 60-minute PowerPoint presentation, with every bullet point that could possibly be, So
yeah. No, that's real. I mean, that they had that conversation at Social Media Marketing World. I keep bringing it up just because I was there recently, I guess. But that was one thing they said is you've got to hold to people's attention because we are in a day and age of instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't want it. So that we were talking about YouTube. They don't want to see intros. They don't want to hear who you are and what your credentials are. They want you to get to the point and talk about the thing. And that's it. Which that's what TikTok does really well.
Well, I agree about the intro thing. I've got a video guy, man, and I got to talk to him. But he puts this little Jackson Fence Company at the very beginning. It's a white thing and in blue, like, and it kind of pops up. But it takes about 3 or 4 seconds. And in the world of TikTok, like those 3 or 4 seconds, they done swiped on, man.
Right. Yeah, they said I've already seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's nothing new, and so they just swipe on past. So.
Well, hey, Mama is packing us up. So Joe,
got it.
Thank you, buddy.
Cannon, thank you. We'll need to do this again. Someone had said that I think Roger said we need to do a second one on just like standardization, that sort of thing.
Oh, dude, I would love that.
I'd love to
Absolutely
have you back on. I'll resend you the link, and you just pick a day and time that works for you.
Awesome.
Hey, tell
see you
everyone
guys.
thank you for letting me have you for this long.
I sure will, man. Hey, y'all have a good one, okay?
Talk to you later, buddy.
See ya.
Guys, it's always so good having Cannon on. I say always so good. That's the first time technically he's been on, but I like talking with Cannon. I talked with him on Facebook and through Messenger and see him at these things. I want up and comer, I think is the right term. He's been at it 6 or 7 years, but I'm telling you, in the 6 or 7 years, to see where he's come from, and I shared this with him privately, so I feel good about saying it publicly. I am really interested to see where his trajectory takes him. If you guys follow fencing content, you should follow Jackson Fence, because I think he's up to some really, really good content. First off, is what I'm a big fan of. But also he's doing really good things for the industry as far as educating customers, that sort of thing. I know I have slacked on comments, so let me get back to some comments here. All right. Roger says, like Mark Olson saying, there's no such thing as common sense, only superior sense and nonsense. He's not wrong. Not wrong there at all. Apex says, learned that lesson back in 2000, woke up 10 years later, was like, wow, have I missed a lot of family time that can't get back, and it was really worth it. So that's, yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely terrifying to think about, right? So I have a 13-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old or 1.5-year-old. And that's something that's going through my mind. So we're planning a family vacation now, because my wife reminded me we haven't been on a family vacation since 2019, since before the pandemic. So actually, it was like November, December 2019, right before everything kind of got crazy. But no, you're absolutely right. So it's the work-life balance, and it's always trying to figure out where you are in that balance and how you what needs more of your time, and it probably should be family, because I don't know anyone that's sitting in a retirement home that says, "Man, I wish I'd spent more time at work." Right? So I think it's a good thing to keep in perspective. Zach says, Joe's relief when you, Caleb, and Matt were on the latest episode of Dan Wheeler's podcast. I like that. If you guys listen to podcasts at all, check out the Fence Industry podcast, Dan. So, by Dan. Talking about how even you guys don't have it all figured out. No, I mean, that's the thing, is like, for real. I mean, that is absolutely the case. Is, my feeling is there are a lot of things that are in at Ozark Fence that are held together by bubble gum and duct tape. We're trying to figure out this online shipping thing. We're getting it sorted out, but then today we added Amazon, and it kind of broke our shipping, how we ship packages through Amazon. So I'm trying to figure that out, but I don't know. I mean, I know the perception could be that people really have things figured out, but you'd be surprised. You pull back the curtain and you realize it's not always as it seems. Everyone's just trying to figure things out. That is absolutely for real. All right. Curtis is off. Take care of the honeydew list. Best of luck with that. Final Fridays reminds me when I worked at a professional kitchen and had a family meal, and as a way to eat, check in with everyone, and talk about the good, bad, and what people need. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of coming together around a meal. I mean, I think it gets everyone's undivided attention for, half hour, 45 minutes. And I mean, just make sure everyone, like you said, checks in with each other. How's everybody doing? Al says we have a morning meeting every day at 8 a.m. for 15 minutes. Very important. I like that a lot. Kind of a morning check-in. I could see that working very well. Abex says we are digital. YouTube. We do have a master hard copy because computers can fail and the network can be down, and learn that it's not fun telling customers you got to reschedule because can't access any data. So that, yeah, having internal backups is always huge too. So even on sales data, we keep a lot of that on paper backup for a year for just this sort of thing. If right now, so as companies become more tech savvy, which leads to efficiencies, I think it's a good thing. But tech goes down, whether it's a power outage or an internet outage, you're pretty stuck. So having paper is always huge. Also, there's area where we're getting signal service is impossible. Did a job last summer, an entire job was a dead zone, no cell service at all. Yeah, and it's hard to think about that, right? That I mean, technology has advanced so quickly that in the last 5 years, 10 years, we've gone from dead zones were totally common. They happened, hey, I got to get back up to the top of the hill to get cell service again. Now we just take cell service for granted that there's going to be 5 bars and it's going to be fast data and the whole thing. But ties in with our live stream topic from Joe, standardization. So Roger, I saw this comment as we were talking, as Ken and I were talking. I knew he had a pretty hard out right around 11:30 because they were trying to keep it moving, and the kids were so good to stay calm for that. I had told him beforehand, I was like, man, if we were in a hotel room with my kids, my son would have been all in that live stream. So I commend him on that as well. But so having a second having a second live stream interview with him would definitely be a plus, and I'll be sending him the link. Tony as well. Gate sizing and wanting to get through. What materials are using? Do they have insurance bonded? Do you need so permit is a good call. We should have mentioned that. I have a feeling in a place like San Diego, permit will be required. Do they pull it? Does the homeowner pull it? What are the costs involved? Great points. Absolutely great points. Gate sizing is huge. Whether they want to move things through. That was a second comment, but no, that's absolutely the truth. Is sizing the gate correctly. So a lot of people say, I want a 4-foot wide gate. Okay, we can absolutely do that. A standard size for us anymore is 5 foot, just because mowers have been getting wider, right? So what mower are you trying to get through there? Are you trying to get equipment through? Like, are you having something built in the backyard where maybe having a double gate would be advantageous? Gate sizing is huge. Absolutely. Yep. What will gate and fence be used for? Absolutely. Time frame's a good one. APEC is all over this. Absolutely. Time frame is absolutely huge. Victoria, you're very welcome. APEC, you're very, very welcome. We'll be sticking around for another half hour. So if you guys do have questions, drop them in the comments below, and we can answer those. Cannon just had a really hard out. They were on the road, so I appreciate him making time at all to come on. So, and when he said, hey, at 11:30, I should really be out here. Done and done. It says Cannon is a dadgum stud. True. So excited to see how Jackson Fence continues to grow. That's absolutely what I shared with him when we were talking, when I was messaging him privately about this. Actually, it was just independent of talking about this show. I'd said I was just randomly thinking about watching his progress. I was on my way home, on drive home, and I just messaged him. That's one of the things I'm trying to be really good about is I think there's a lot of things in this universe we don't really understand fully well, and one of them is like nudges, I guess. Like so, way I think about it. So I'll be driving home, and I'll have a podcast on, typically Dan's when there's a new one out, and I'll just be thinking. Right? I mean, what on the ride home is a good time to sit and collect your thoughts about what went on for the day and what didn't get done and all that. Well, anyway, this particular day, I just started thinking about, I had probably seen one of Kansas TikToks, probably. And just thinking about, like, man, talk about somebody that's doing really good work, that's doing a really good job of pushing the industry forward through marketing content. That's what I love, period, is marketing and advertising. So I think a lot about that. Who's having a positive influence on the industry, that sort of thing. So anyway, I was thinking about him, and I really feel like that's so when I think about somebody, I usually send them a message because part of me thinks, well, maybe that's a nudge from the universe that I should reach out to him. And I've been trying to be better about that. So anyway, I was thinking about him. I shot him a message. And I just told him basically that, hey, thinking about you. Love watching your company grow. Can't wait to see where you're headed to. Yeah. So anyway, shot him a message and basically the same thing. I basically said the same thing Nathan did. Can't wait to watch you grow. Yeah. Cannon has grown tremendously. He really, really has. Roger says he's got to love the earbuds listening while you're doing the honeydew list. Attaboy, Roger. Attaboy. Apex says that's a lesson learned. Must take time and vacations, even if 4 days at home. even just being there without answering the work phone. I think, yeah, it's huge. It really is. We're planning a vacation. Excuse me. Oh, that was not great. We're planning a vacation in August, a big family vacation where we go, and I think we're going to rent a house and just reach out to some friends and family and say, "Hey, we're going on vacation. We'd sure like to see you because we don't see our friends and family as much as we'd like to." And just say, "Hey, whoever comes by can come by," sort of thing. So we're trying to make time. We really are. Guys, I'm caught up on the chat. So if you guys have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those in the comments below. So Ken and I had like this whole list of things we're going to talk about, but he had asked me, he said, "Hey, do you have like an agenda?" I said, "Nope, absolutely not. I like to just see where the conversation takes us because I watch a lot of YouTube as well when I'm at the house. And I really feel like you can tell the shows that have like a strict agenda, like they'll have something on the whiteboard right next to the monitor here or to the video camera here, and they just follow that. It feels weird, right? So I said, no, we don't have an agenda, but some things we could talk about are your growth. That's one thing that I really enjoy watching. I would also, we can talk about fence tech. We can talk about this. We didn't talk about fence tech at all. I was really interested in hearing. So this was his first time going to fence tech. I was really interested in hearing that. So, watch, keep an eye out for part 2 of this series with Canon. I think we should do regular check-ins. I think we at Ozark Fence could be better by learning from those around us, just by taking their example, following their example. That's the one. Roger says, Joe, you mentioned looking back 2 years on a company's credibility. Great idea, but what do you recommend for a company that just started? I think that needs to be taken into account, right? And I say that knowing full well that there are great companies that do great work and everyone starts somewhere, right? The problem is there are a lot of guys getting into business now because they're great craftsmen. They build really good fence. They're trying to do better for themselves and for their family, which is absolutely understandable and admirable. Admirable. That's the word. That they're taking the risk, right, to start their own business. The problem generally is that while they are great tradesmen, great craftsmen at building fence, what Sean King would call a fence ninja, they're not great at running a business, right? So they could come do great work. They could just blow you away with their craftsmanship. But then if you needed something done in 2 years, they might not be around. They didn't manage money well, or they didn't. What I'm seeing, at least in our local market, is they didn't charge accordingly for the quality that they're given, right? So they're just charging you for that day. They're not trying to put anything away for the future, for the winter, right? So it used to be, we've been busy through the winter for quite a while, but it used to be winter was a dead time, and winter would shake out all of the middling fence companies, right? The guys that just weren't really great at running a business. They couldn't make it through the winter time. So other companies would stash a little away for winter, right? Just like a squirrel stashes away the acorns, we'd have a winter fund, right? A winter bank account to where we could at least get through the operating expenses for those months. So what do you recommend for a company that just started? I think you need to take that into account, right? And because it's so easy to get into business now, I think it's really opening up the possibility for companies that just don't do great work to come into the market and unfortunately take advantage of homeowners. We saw this 2 seasons ago, I think, where it's kind of the classic thing where this actually wasn't a new fence company. This was a fence company that had been around for a handful of years, 6, 7, 8 years. They started getting in financial trouble and they started taking deposits with no intention on building the fence and then just skipping town. Luckily, everyone caught on a little bit quicker than normal, and they stuck around longer than normal. And so they got wrapped up with the attorney general. So the Missouri Attorney General's office ended up coming down on them. So, but yeah. So in talking about doing business with a new company, I think you need to take that into account. Now, if that's within your risk tolerance, that they would do good work on your job, but maybe not be there for the long term, I think that's fine. I think you need to take that into account. I think you need to take their track record into account too when talking about deposits. Um, what are the chances that they are going to come out? What reassurances do you have that they are going to come out after you give them? I mean, 50% is pretty standard. It's what we require here. Yeah. So take that into account, I guess is what I'm saying. Um, I would prefer to do business with a company that had a longer track record, but I completely understand the other side of this coin is that every company started somewhere, right? Every company in existence had year one and year two. I get it. I'm just saying that should be taken into account. Everyone's risk tolerance is different. So if you know if that's where you're at, where you'd like to bring on, you're okay bringing on a contractor that doesn't have a proven track record. Just take that into account, though, when you're figuring out the financial arrangements there, too. Which more companies checked in with others, even competitors, as companies learn from each other. And in my opinion, enough work to go around as not all companies do the same. Absolutely. 100% agree on this. And in that, listen, I was a teenager once where I was just young and full of vigor, and we were just going to take the whole fence industry by storm, and we were going to be the fence company for Southwest Missouri. My granddad, I remember I was spouting off about that at one point. My granddad sat me down. He's like, Joe, you do understand that if we were the only fence company in Southwest Missouri, we couldn't handle all that work. And we would be doing a disservice to our clients and our community by just not being able to handle the work. It would be a disaster. It'd be a huge mess. So why don't you calm down on that and realize that we're all in this thing together and we need them just as much as they need us because we all need to take care of our community as a whole. It was an eye-opening conversation and it got me to thinking and kind of, you know, thinking a little bit more about the whole rising tide raises all the ships and that we all ought to get along. Um, and so that's kind of where we're headed in our local market is that, you know, while we don't, attend each other's kids' birthdays, we do get along. We are friendly and we can pick up a phone and I can call the majority of the fence companies in town. There's one in town and one of the bigger outfits that they just don't take anybody's call. So there's that. But for the rest of us, yeah. So we're checking in and just seeing what each other needs, right? And just we're all in this thing together. I think Mr. Rogers is the one that taught us that in the beginning, and we all should have listened a little bit more to that. Todd says you need to plan for the winter cash hemorrhage. That's true. It's true. I mean, I think a lot of companies are getting comfortable though, Todd, in that we talked about this last weekend during our advisory meeting. Is that we haven't had a slow winter in quite a long time, and it's going to be easy to forget about that, right? To say, well, no, winter doesn't get slow anymore. We're always busy. We're always building gates or we're always doing whatever we do in the wintertime. So, why say, we don't need to save. We just hammer down, foot on the throttle. And so I think my comment was more just a word of caution to say, hey, it could be wintertime again. The economy, when did this conversation come up? It came up a few weeks ago. Me and some of the guys in the industry were talking about just the economy in general and how I don't think things are in dire straits. I don't think we're going to see a recession or see anything like that, but I think it's going to slow down. I think it has to slow down and at least regroup for a little bit. Let the industries, that are most affected come back to normal somewhat as far as supply chain issues. So, we need to plan for that. We need to have a rainy day fund set aside that has X months worth of operating costs that just sits and just waits just in case. So what we've done is we have an investment account that has those funds in it. to get us through X months of operating expense. We also have a separate bank account that gets us through, several months worth of payroll, so that we can. Now, I don't know the exact number because we keep bringing on team members for good reason. We're finding rock stars out there. I am encouraged by the workforce that we're seeing turn around. I think if you haven't tried to hire in the last 2 to 3 months, you should give it a shot and see what comes up. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. We have been. Anyway, so we have a separate payroll fund that just represents X weeks of payroll, so that if we did no revenue for the next 10, 12, 15 weeks, we could still make payroll. Everyone still stays paid. So I think you're right, Todd. I think you need to plan, whether I don't know that it's even winter anymore. I think you just need to plan for the rainy day, right? And whether it's economy slowdown or whether it's whatever it is. I think having a savings account or a few savings accounts with funds in it is never a bad idea. Roger says, yes, bad companies are hurting the industry, especially storm chaser types. The chuck in a truck type. Absolutely. And they affect all these industries, right? So you see them in roofing a lot. I've got some friends that have successful roofing companies here in town. And listen, every hailstorm, they all just kind of roll their eyes and see the guys coming through town with out of state, license plates, with out of state area codes for their phone numbers. These are guys that just sit and follow storms around. Some of them legitimate, some of them not legitimate, right? So that's one thing, I try to stress when we're giving talks, at these trainings or universities, is that you have to set yourself apart from that somehow, right? And so we like doing it by social media marketing, by putting a face with the brand, with Ozark Fence or whomever, but also wrapping trucks so that they're easily recognizable, and just letting our community know we're here for them. Chuck in a truck type is definitely a problem. It really is. Apex says, nice to see you also. Those roofing companies, whenever a hailstorm comes through, are always crazy. Todd says that would be fiscally irresponsible. You never know what winter will bring. So I agree, Todd. I agree. But when you're talking, so here's what brought this to mind was when we're talking about winter funds, we haven't had a winter in probably 5, 6, 7 years. Is when you talk to contractors that are in the southern states, Texas, Florida, the Gulf Coast, that area, they don't have winter, right? It might slow down a little bit, but they pretty much have a 12-month season. And I think we could get caught up on that. I really do. Now, obviously, last winter, Florida and Texas, the Gulf Coast, were hit by a pretty strong winter storm, and we're reminded that winter can come. Winter can touch everyone. But having a savings plan or having some sort of account ready to go for that is always a good idea. Epic says having separate bank accounts is great, and even using separate banks can be good as well. So we've got income, OpEx, payroll, taxes, profit, owner's comp, 6 main accounts. We also took out an EIDL loan through the SBA's COVID response program. So we have a bank account for repaying that. And then we also have a charitable contributions account. Now, the way we make this make sense, it sounds like a lot, and it is on paper, but each one of those has a corresponding percentage of income that just get allocated to those accounts. So we know, 53% goes to OpEx, 4.5% goes to EIDL payment, EIDL loan repayment, so that all the money's in separate accounts. At a glance, we can see exactly where all the funds set. Now, it's interesting too. You've got a good point on the separate banks, because at some point you start getting into FDIC kind of not concerns, but just thoughts that they insure up to certain dollar amounts per account, but also per bank. So the investing account is in a different bank than what holds our operating account. We've got the money spread across 3 or 4 different banks, and some of them one of them is a main nationwide bank, because then we can deposit funds into that from anywhere in the country. Well, and from other countries as well, that have these banks. And anyway, we can deposit funds or withdraw funds from any of these areas, which is good. Now, our main operating funds and our loan accounts are at a local bank, a bank and trust, just because they're people that we really enjoy working with. They really enjoy working with us. We know each other's businesses. So anyway, I think that's Apex. That's a good point. Different bank accounts, just so that you can at a glance see exactly how your business is funded. But also separate banks is a good idea from an insurance standpoint as well. Apex says 3 weeks ago, 15 companies came to my door. Good grief, in a hailstorm. Unreal. Victoria says, as a customer, I always try to find a person with the best reputation because it affects their revenue. They are usually in my community. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is reputation's good. Keeping your dollars local is always a good idea. I mean, these are the companies that sponsor baseball teams. These are the companies that sponsor, Boy Scout chili dinners. These are the ones that they support their community, right? And that's one thing that we're trying to be better about being made known is, and there's a fine line here too, right? So we're trying to make it known that we've got this charitable giving account. So we're giving somewhere in the ballpark of $30,000 to $40,000 away this year to different area organizations, to try to give back to the community that has supported us. Right now, that's a thin line to skate down because you can get away from the message of just charitable contributions and community improvement. That message also kind of sounds like a self promotion. So that's kind of what we're struggling with at the moment is just trying to skate that line. We'd like to let everyone know that we're being responsible with the money that they trust us with for building their fences by building a better community. But anyway, it does affect the revenue, and they are usually in the community. So we've got one fence company that here locally that's owned by an out of state organization, and that's kind of a conversation that you think about is a certain part of that money is flowing out of your community. Right now, they still hire within the community, right? And even the local guys like us, we still purchase things from outside the community, which they do. But overall, the profits leave the state, right? The profits, go to a different state, and they're taxed differently, so that less of the money actually ends up in the local governments, that sort of thing. But anyway, all good considerations to have. We had a little conversation between Roger and APEC, and where APEC is in Florida, and Roger agrees with their choice of governor. Take that for what it's worth. All right, guys, we've got a little bit more time here. If you guys have any more questions or comments, drop those in the comments below. I think for the next little bit, we're pretty good on the weekly schedule here. Let's see. So for the next 2 weeks, we'll be here. Now, April the 23rd, we will not be having a live show because it is our HBA home show. Typically, those are in February, but this one got rescheduled. There was whatever round of COVID was going around at that point in time was going around, so it got rescheduled. But then the following week, we will be having Jason from Boulder, Colorado, in town he will be doing a live training. So on the 30th, we will be back with Jason. After that, we'll be gone again after that. So I'll be in Philadelphia for Kasurik's training in early May, the first weekend in May. So for next little bit, we'll be here for a few weeks, and then it'll be hit or miss from there for a little bit. But as always, you can leave comments down below. You can message me directly. You can email me at joe@thefenceexpert.show, and I'll put that in the comments. That way it's a little bit easier. We'll say joe@thefenceexpert.show. If you'd like to send me an email, send it to this email address. I am a few emails behind. So I know I saw Miguel's comment earlier, and I still owe him an email back. So I know I am a few behind, but emailing me gives me the chance to see that and respond back to your questions. Roger asks, how's it going with the chain link machine? We are in a holding pattern. The money has been transferred, the documents have been signed, and we're waiting for them to wrap up a round of building on these machines for other people so they can get to building our machine. We got the lease in this week for the space, so we'd gotten the verbal go ahead, and it's a friend of the family, somebody I completely trust, so that was good enough for me. But you know how banks are. The bank wanted to see the actual lease, so we got that in this week. It sounds like officially the lease will be beginning in August 1. But the company that's in that facility right now, they could be out as early as June. I told them we're obviously in no rush. I think they had a 25-week delivery or anticipation delivery of about 25 weeks on the machine. Placed the order 2 weeks ago, so we are at 23 weeks. We've got some time, and that's what I had shared with the building owner is that I mean, we could take the building early, but there's some work that needs to be done to get it ready to go. But we don't necessarily need it in June either. I don't look forward to paying additional rent if we don't need to. But building's coming along. We've got lease in place for that now. The machine is ordered. Now it's kind of a holding pattern. It's going to be wait until we can get into the building. I need to meet with the electrician over there, probably give them a call next week. We need to redo the electrical, not redo. We just need to upgrade the electrical system so that we can power these machines. And then from there, it'll be taking down a few walls, making a little bit more warehouse space available for the machine. Of course, I'll be bringing you guys along for that process as it happens. We're holding interviews for a new videographer editor here for the YouTube channel. Now, you guys, I believe you guys have met Jeremy here on the show. We ought to have Jeremy back on, do a Q&A with him. Jeremy is my producer. He also runs the business side of the show, talking with sponsors, that sort of thing. We have Will, who is in Texas, kind of in the Dallas area-ish, does our editing for the recorded content. But we're bringing on an in-house guy to be a videographer, editor, so that we can switch the content of the recorded content. So we can switch the, what do you call that? I don't know. Switch the concept of the content. How we record these things, right? We're going to go from a talking head, which is just me talking to this camera about whatever current issues are going on in the industry, moving away from that and moving towards basically a week in review, where the videographer will follow me and the team around, just talking about what's going on in the business, that sort of thing. And give you guys kind of a behind the scenes look of running the business. Now, part of that will be the new Chainlink company. Follow me around over there, watching, what modifications we have to do to the building to get it ready to accept the machinery, watching the machinery come in, how we think about the layout of this building as to where the equipment's going to go, where we're going to store the raw strand, that sort of thing. So we'll be bringing you guys along for that as well. So anyway, interviews, we had a few good interviews. So we've got a couple more interviews on Tuesday. So we do interviews on Tuesday. Tuesdays are like the one day I have reserved for YouTube. We'll do video content. Jeremy and I will meet about the business side, sponsors, that sort of thing. But then also we're doing interviews for this position. So we've got a few more interviews this upcoming Tuesday, and then we will be we've got another round. So the top 3 that make it past the interview, which we've already had a couple good ones, so I'm excited about that. We're going to send them basically some raw footage and ask them to put it together in a finished product and just kind of see. This hat always drives me nuts. Just kind of see where their skill level's at. And we made it kind of plain to them that it's not necessarily the finished product is not necessarily as important as the process they go through combining it. Anyway, we've got that to do. So, I mean, all said and done, I think we could have an individual. We plan on having an individual here in house in the next couple of weeks, and then it'll probably be a month after that to where we really switch the form. There we go, format of the show. That's what we were trying to say. I say we a lot. That's what I was trying to say, but probably a month. We want to record about a month of content before we start putting it out onto YouTube. So we have a little bit of a backlog there, and so that if we say anything, we've got a few months or a few weeks for it. We're not letting secret cats out of the bag or secrets or anything. So we've got a few weeks for those things to come out to the open until you guys see it on the show. Yeah. So we're probably, I don't know, what's that? Add that up. Month and a half or so away from changing the format of the show. But all that to say, Roger, the chain link machine thing is going pretty smooth. Apic, thank you. It's nerve wracking. I mean, it is an investment for sure. These machines aren't cheap. The building, actually, we got a good deal on the building. Oh, apparently, I needed to go to bed earlier last night. Yeah, everything's going on. I appreciate the congratulations, but it is also fairly nerve wracking. Roger says, I'd love to see a video on how many feet of fencing these things produce per hour per fence height breakdown thingy. That is the plan, right? So, because there are calculations on speed of these things per wire gauge. So 9 gauge can be produced faster than 11 and a half, which at first sounded kind of counterintuitive to me. But so 9 gauge is a stronger gauge wire, right? So less flopping around, more rigidity. That's the word. It can be produced a little bit. You can run your machine faster. You can run that thing through the die faster without worrying about it flopping around everywhere. You can run a little bit faster. And then, of course, 4 foot gets made faster than 6 foot. So it will be interesting to see a breakdown of, 4 foot, 11 and a half, 11 and 9 gauge as compared to. Now, we don't do a lot of 6. Well, I think we did talk about making 6 foot, 11 and a half for construction panels. So 6 foot, 11 and a half, 11 and 9. It'd be interesting to see a comparison on how many feet per hour those things can roll through. That will definitely be part of the video. William, welcome. I've got questions for Jeremy. Definitely have him on. You've got it. I will see Jeremy on Tuesday, and we will talk about having him on for some production and editing talk. You got it. I'm excited for behind the scenes too. Yeah, so that's kind of the general consensus. As I talk to people, it sounds like there is quite a bit of interest on a behind the scenes look on just what goes on here at Ozark Fence or what goes on at the new company. Maybe a look at retail wholesale, because that's something that's not new to us, but we're really building it out. Candace over there is doing a great job. Matt and over in Fabrication, Building and Grounds, those guys are absolutely killing it. So it'd be interesting to kind of see their journey too. I mean, that's the thing, is this is a team event, right? This is not a one-man event. This is a team event. So I'd also like to introduce you guys to the team so you guys get a feel for basically how they contribute to the overall success. Absolutely. I agree. Epic loves seeing machines and how they work. I agree. I've got a YouTube channel that I watch. I'll have to look up the name of it. It just shows up in my suggested feed, but it's all about just how machinery works. That's it. Just here's this machine. Here's how it works. Here's about 10 minutes of you just sitting there watching it work. I am here for it. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking that's one of the directions the channel will take as well. And we're talking about having multiple uploads a week. That's one of the reasons for having a full-time videographer editor, is that we can still have Saturday production of regularly recorded content in addition to a behind the scenes, or possibly having like a behind the scenes breakout session where we talk about an overall subject on the behind the scenes show, but then the second video is about one thing in particular. I don't know. We're testing out some ideas, or we're talking about some different ideas and concepts. We need to get the thing off the ground first, and then talk about bringing on additional content. I mean, once we have someone whose full-time job is content production, I think we're going to get really good at producing content efficiently and just bringing it to the market regularly. Bring it to the platform regularly. Also, you guys out there watching, so we're also uploading our content to a platform called Odyssey. If you follow me on Facebook, I made a post about this last week. So there have been people that had shared, I don't know about concerns, but we'd had talks about data privacy, about how they weren't a big fan of watching content on this. Well, really, any platform. Let me see who's watching from where. Yeah. So basically, if you're watching me now, there's been content or there's been conversations about content on those platforms, basically being data collection, right? So we're also putting content over on Odyssey, which is um, a decentralized platform. So think, regardless of where you're watching me, it is a centralized platform. It's a place that has offices, that has employees, that sort of thing. Well, decentralized gets away from that. It's kind of giving power to the people, sort of thing. There's no one person that's guiding this ship. That's a committee of people, that sort of thing. So Odyssey is one of these sites that is decentralized. It's not driven by monetization, whether it's data collection, ads, that sort of thing. Yeah. So if you guys have thoughts about data privacy, that sort of thing, you should check out the content on Odyssey. Now, unfortunately, I sent a message so StreamYard is who we use to have these live streams. They connect to the different platforms that you're watching me on right now. They basically connect the dots, so to speak. So I don't have to go live on 3 different platforms right now. I'm live on one platform that is distributing it to these other platforms. So we reached out to them to see if there is a way to go live on Odyssey. I mean, it's a platform that's been around for quite a while, but it's really gaining steam lately just because the conversation around data security and data privacy is really getting big. So anyway, I'll let you guys know as that progresses. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we would ever go to that platform exclusively. I mean, like I said, right now, this live stream right this second is getting pushed to 3 different platforms. We've got, just looking up here, we got Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So we would probably just add that to a channel. LinkedIn is kind of a new channel for us. I've been playing around on LinkedIn for the last month or so. So Odyssey would be much the same, where we would just add that to the place where we go live, so that if you guys prefer to watch content there, you absolutely could. So let's see. So Apex says, is a platform subscription based? It is not. There are free plans available to where you can watch content for free, similar to like the YouTube. You can also pay for like a premium subscription to where you don't see ads, really, is what that's about. So you don't necessarily pay for watching. You can watch totally for free. You just have to sit through some ads. That's currently the plan I'm on. So I'm also over on Odyssey. Let me grab for you guys real quick the link to the channel over there. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick, because this is not the computer I'm using to do this live stream. It's not my normal computer, so it doesn't have anything bookmarked. But we're gonna go on Odyssey.com. We're gonna search Joe Everest. All right, I'm going to drop this in the comments for you guys. That would be the link to the channel over on Odyssey. I'll still be producing content. It'll still live on YouTube as well. It's just being mirrored also over there on Odyssey. So, yeah, let's actually see if the content goes over there automatically. Yep, it does. So today's video is up on Odyssey. So we had a bit of a snafu. Yeah, that's par for the course today. Snafu. So typically content goes out at 1:45 p.m. Well, today it went out at 1:45 a.m. So our latest video is currently up on the YouTube channel, but it looks like it pulled directly over to Odyssey as well. Apex has let's see, ads don't really bother me as much because TV has commercials, which are ads. That's the thing. And these platforms have to fund themselves somehow, right? Like there is a server somewhere that has this data on it, and that server does cost money. So I get ads, I really do. But I mean, looking at the platform, I mean, it's you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see a bunch like 10 of these videos or something, and then an ad in next to some of my videos. Just looking at the channel, and there's really not. There's like 2 or 3 ads in here, so it's not really a ton. Um, yeah. So anyway, check it out if you guys kind of have those same thoughts around data privacy, data security. Maybe that'd be a good platform for you guys. But video content will live on both. So the comment has come up about storing about why why the content can't be watched on Facebook directly, why it's linked. So Facebook isn't really a great platform at cataloging video content. It's just not made for that. Now you can put videos on Facebook, but in terms of having playlists and really having high quality video, it's not really what they're for. They're kind of the Swiss Army knife. You can have pictures, you can have, what am I saying? Written word, blog style posts. You can have video, you can have live video, but they're not great at cataloging it. So, when we are going live, so from Ozark Fence, we typically will do a Facebook Live because it's good at meeting your audience when you want them to see you. But in terms of cataloging content, we've got videos going back for the last several years. They're really not great at that. So we're going to continue to catalog the videos both on YouTube and now on Odyssey and link them to Facebook. Now, the videos that I will be linking to Facebook will be from Odyssey. I'm a big proponent of data security, knowing who has what data about you as an individual. Now, whether it's search history or purchase history, whatever it is, I'm a big fan of having just that data security. You owning your own data, knowing exactly how it's being used and who it's being sent to. So we will be sharing the links from the Odyssey site. Same exact content, just different data controls. So anyway, guys, we're at 2 hours and 31 minutes, so which means we are right at time. It is 12:31. So we made it once again. It doesn't look like we're going to go over for another hour, which is also a good thing. Always keep in mind, I continue to watch the comments on this channel or on this video, as well as all my videos throughout the week on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you guys do have questions, if you're watching this as a recording and you've got additional questions, leave them in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you next week.